is a special presentation of T&N Motorsports. The long 8-week summer stretch is over. The teams were pushed to the breaking point. For those that survived, it's time for the run to the title.
Championship is the big picture. You know, that's what we're all here for. You come to every race to try and win it, but when you go home, if you didn't win, you hope that you placed well so that when the season's over, you're at the top.
When a guy goes point racing, he might not make a 3-wide attempt. He might not stick his nose where it don't belong, and we need to do this. But only if the car's not 100% will we point race. You know, we're going to go out there and try and win these races.
I'd rather win them all, but you still have to finish in the top 5 consistently, and that's what we're trying to do is stay out of trouble, keep the car from falling apart, and win if we can.
I think in the past, you know, I always walk through the gate, and I'm everyone's friend. The battle is fierce out there, you know, and everyone we go out to the racetrack, you know, we go out and race, they're all competition, and, you know, we'll do what it takes to win.
Round 16 of the 20-race season on the American Speed Association's AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour. And for the second time in '96, we've made our way back to eastern Iowa. We've come back to Cedar Rapids. Beautiful fall day here in Cedar Rapids at Hawkeye Down Speedway. 60-degree temperatures, a little breeze, absolutely perfect for ASA racing. Hi everybody, I'm Ralph Shaheen. Welcome back to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This is a real raucous crowd here in the grandstands. They love their local drivers, and they're ready to go racing with us once again. And I'm joined as always by my good buddy Jim Trado. And you know, we've finished off an 8-week stretch of racing with the ASA, and Jim, it's done some interesting things to the points.
Believe it or not, 8 races ago was a 133-point separation between Gary St. Amant and then 6th place runner Tony Raines. This is 8 races ago. St. Amant had the lead. Hansen, they swapped it back and forth 4 times in that 8-race stretch run.
At the end of that 8-race run, there's only 136 points now separating Hansen from Kevin Sawinski. Now, the biggest move in the whole thing was by Bob Seneker. Seneker moved from way deep inside the top 10 all the way up to 4th. He is now in the thick of the title chase. So the point standings are very interesting as we come back to Cedar Rapids, and there's one driver who's looking to take all the points away from everybody. That's a local driver who this crowd absolutely loves, Dave Burns.
Well, that's Brad Loney, and he is one of only 2 drivers in the 1996 ASA Series that don't have a check mark in the column Reason Out. Brad Loney has finished every race in 1996, as has Ted Smokestad. Now, we're going to talk to Brad first because the last time we visited Cedar Rapids, Brad finished 32nd, his worst finish of the year, and that was because of a throttle pedal. Well, Brad, we know that you've put an indestructible throttle pedal in the car today. How else have you managed to bounce back from the earlier disappointment this year at Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, absolutely. We've managed to put in the indestructible throttle pedal. This Bun Saver Flex Steel Furniture H&W Motor Express team's done a great job preparing the car, and you know, we're looking forward to a fantastic finish today, and hopefully we can just put on a great show for all the fans.
Well, as a lot of you know, Brad is a former track champion right here at Hawkeye Downs. He also has a great finish so far in 1996. It was a 2nd at the first race of the year in Columbus, Ohio. Now, another guy who has seen the winner's stand, but not quite the checkered flag for himself yet this year, is Ted Smokestad. And Ted, just a couple of weeks ago, finished 2nd at the Minnesota State Fair. Ted, we're not in Minnesota anymore. We're in Iowa. What makes you so good at this track?
Well, we have run a lot here in the past, Dave, and the Super America car has been running extremely well the last few weeks. We got 5 races left with Super America. We're going to hopefully take them out with a big bang here, and have to see what happens. I'd like to say hi to Grandma Gramish out there. My wife's grandma's been a little under the weather, and want to wish her the best. Let her know we're all thinking about her.
Well, in case we forgot to mention, Brad Loney will start 4th today. Ted Smokestad will start 5th, and neither one of these guys have ever won an ASA race. Guys, they are hungry today.
Those are definitely two drivers you have to consider here today, but not the only two drivers that I think have a real good shot here, Jim.
The pole winner back in July is point leader Scott Hansen. He is now back in 16th starting position, one spot outside. You can see Mike Eddy to his inside, but Hansen has had extremely good luck here at Hawkeye Downs, and he's looking for a better run, but he did qualify a little bit off last night in 16th.
The one I think you got to really keep an eye on is that car, the 84 Thunderbird of Bob Seneker, the Bluebird, the Sneaker. 2 wins here at Hawkeye Downs. In fact, the last 2. This guy is a player every time we come to Cedar Rapids. Well, before we can do anything to go racing here, we've got to fire up the motors. So let's head back downstairs, David Burns, to turn them over.
Well, Ralph, we're standing by with Ed Emerson, who is the resident board member here for the Hawkeye Downs Fairgrounds. Ed, first of all, what has ASA Racing meant to you all here at the fairgrounds?
Well, ASA is, first of all, our premier race events of the year, and they've really come in here with a nice show.
Okay, well, you're going to get us started on another nice show here this afternoon. We got a great day for it. Go ahead, Ed.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
The V6 motors have come to life here at Hawkeye Downs, and we're set to go with round 16 of the American Speed Association live on TNN after this. The AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN is brought to you in part by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. By Win Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. And we're back at Cedar Rapids, Iowa for the second time in '96, and we're happy to announce that in 1997, we're coming back twice again. So if you're a fan of the Cedar Rapids area of ASA, plan on seeing the cars back here in July and in September again in '97. But before we come back in '97, we've got to go racing here today. Let's take you to our grid, the Iowa 300. Steve Holzhausen and Mike Miller make up row 1. Holzhausen being a terror here in the back half of the season, and Mike Miller already with 2 wins.
In the second row, Tony Raines and Brad Loney. We talked to Brad earlier. Raines only 43 points out of the point lead.
Row 3, Ted Smokestad and Joe Knott. Joey Knott getting his first win at Lancaster earlier this year, and Smokestad still looking for his first victory in the Super American Pontiac.
Qualifying 7th is Paul Payne out of Minnesota. He'll drop to the back of the field, however, did not make the grid on time. A great run in this Pontiac up to start from the tail as before we go green. Outside of him, a Michigan veteran, Harold Fair.
Back in row 5, Gary St. Amant and Carl Miscotten. St. Amant trying to recapture the point lead.
Inside row 6, we have Jack Landis in the 07 car and Rick Beebe driving the St. Louis Gear Chevrolet this afternoon, starting outside that row.
Row 7 finds David Senspa and Brandon Sperling, 2 more drivers looking for their first victory. Senspa, former Rookie of the Year.
Starting 15th will be Mike Eddy and Scott Hansen. Watch these guys tear through the field. We'll cover it for you this afternoon on TNN, but they have their work cut out for them early. Again, qualifying in row 8.
Row 9 is where you'll find Kevin Noodleman in the Sitco car and Tony Roper in a newly painted Chevrolet.
Qualifying 19th and 20th, Bob Seneker, the Bluebird, and Kevin Sawinski, the hottest driver in the ASA circuit. 3 wins in the last 5 races.
Row 11, Bill Baird and Tom Jones in the Zero Hero.
Row 12, Dr. Yo Conley out of Vienna, West Virginia, and Brett Bell in the Wonderbar Ford.
And in row 13, another local favorite, Johnny Spa and Buddy Schrock, who's been running with the ASA first time in quite a few years.
In the next row, Tim Sauter looking for a rookie run next season, and the Oak Creek, Wisconsin native, the Barricade Flasher driver, Dennis Latman.
Behind them in row 15, former motorcycle star Aaron Huff, and out of Oklahoma, the 58 of Billy Turner.
Row 6, we find road racing veteran Chuck Hemmingson and Wisconsin driver Doug Mayer in a Chevrolet.
And the 17th row, Sam Gottwald and Carol Adamy in car 92.
Row 18, we find Dave Onspaw. He'll start 35th in the final car in the field in his Sturgis Middle School Pontiac.
Well, there's a lot of keys to running well here at Hawkeye Downs, and getting around this half-mile oval is not an easy thing when you take a look at the way the track is laid out.
It's 65 to 75 feet wide. The turns are only banked at 7 degrees. 3 and 4 is a compound banking, 5 degrees on the bottom, and it goes all the way up to 7, which is not a lot, but it requires a great handling race car because it's such a flat half-mile racetrack. Not to mention there's a couple of bumps out there that these drivers are going to try to avoid this afternoon.
Well, there's one driver who really knows the way around here, and that is Brad Loney. We had a chance to check with him earlier today, find out what the key is to winning at Hawkeye Downs.
The key for me is getting through the center of the turns here. We've got a track that's got kind of an uphill off of turn 4 onto the front straight and a downhill into turn 1. And since the last time we were here, we've got what you'd call a whoop-de-doo section like we do in motocross coming out of turn 2. So it's really important to roll through the center strong so that we can exit well, especially getting across the bumps off of turn 2.
The first guy that does a knack-knack over the whoop-de-doo section, I give a standing ovation to.
Of course, Ralph does a couple of motorcycle races here on TNN, and he's been a long-time advocate and soon-to-be Harley-Davidson owner. Looking forward to that.
Yes, sir. Got a fat boy because you are what you ride. Okay, the race analysis. It is a 300 here at Cedar Rapids, and 35 cars starting, which will be a little different next year.
We're going to go down to 32 cars per event. That will happen the last 2 events of this year as well, at Jennerstown and at Kenly, North Carolina. But ASA making some changes, making the purse a lot bigger. The Winter Circle program's been bumped up this weekend. A lot of exciting things for 1997 on the AC-Delco Challenge Series this afternoon. 300 laps the distance. Steve Holtzhausen, 5/1000ths of a second better than Mike Miller. Those 2 drivers share the front row this afternoon. Again, 35 cars qualified for this race, 35 start. And it's an awfully tight field up top in qualifying. They're separated by less than 1 second on back to 17th in the starting order. So it's a very, very tight field.
And with 300 laps, we'll have a lot of time to tell you all about all those new changes coming to the series. And there's a lot of them. We've got some information for you on the 97 schedule as well. But we're set to go with the green flag here. Cedar Rapids, we're underway. Everybody in and out of turns 1 and 2. Holtzhausen back out front as we put him down into 3. Boy, look at Smokestad stuck in the inside in the 32.
Unable to use the entire racetrack. He's inside of Joe Knott there, and the battle for 5th position heats up, but now it looks like it's going to be a battle at the point. Holtzhausen now will have to hold off Mike Miller.
Miller, the number 18 Pontiac, already with 2 wins. That's Tony Raines right behind him in the white 87, and then the local favorite, Brad Loney in the H&W Pun Saver Flex Steel 33. That's your top 4. Then it's Smokestad, Joe Knott, Gary St. Amant, Harold Fair, Jack Landis, Rick Beebe, Carl Muscat, and Dave Senspa, and here comes the 7-time champ Mike Eddy.
Mike Eddy's already advanced to 12th position, and we see the leaders down the front stretch. Mike Eddy's on the inside there in the black car. He's moved into 11th, putting Sensible 1 spot back in the West Michigan Chevrolet dealers Monte Carlo, and he's on a tear. Just ahead of him, the 8 car is Carl Muscat.
Now, the thing to note about Mike Eddy, if you have not followed the series all season long, he has had absolutely horrible luck. Won the first race down in Florida, Lakeland, and then has gone absolutely out the window since then. The car's been fast, he's been quick, but he has not had any reliability.
This is the 16th race of the year. Mike Eddy has led in 9 of those events, but he's also dropped out of 6 events on the year, putting him back at 12th in points.
Mike told me earlier that even though the majority of the problems have been related to the engine, it is not the fault of the engine builder. It has been more with the aftermarket parts that have been added onto the engine. Things like the distributor cap. 2 or 3 races in a row, you have problems with that.
He now moves by Jack Landis and the Leonora Maisto Ford.
Here's a battle for second brewing there as you see Tony Raines to the outside of Mike Miller. Now Loney going to try to follow. So Miller finds himself going from 2nd to 4th in a hurry, and if he can't shut the door on Smokestad, it might be 5th.
Ralph, this is such a rhythm racetrack. When you're stuck to the inside as Mike Miller was there, he cannot get in the corner as hard as he wants to. He has to pinch the turn and lose speed. Looks like he might even be off the pace just a bit in the car cop Pontiac. Once again, he pulls to the inside. Smokestad will go by in the Super America colors.
That is the battle for 4th. A lot of aggressive racing going on early on here at Cedar Rapids. This series known for its sprint style of racing. Most of the races only 300 laps, 400 laps, the most we run at Anderson. But in that format, it is not a cruising cash style of racing. It is hardcore sprint racing from the drop of the green, but it seems very aggressive here today.
These drivers know how fast Steve Holzhausen is. They know how fast Tony Raines can be at this racetrack. Holzhausen won the first ever race in '94 here, and he is now leading Tony Raines by 10 car lengths. These drivers know they need to keep up. They need to keep that hard pace. They go laps down here very quickly.
Holzhausen is already built up over a second lead, and we've got a yellow.
Carroll Adamy slowing on the racetrack in his Dorothy Lynch salad dressing Chevrolet off of turn number 4, just at the, there he is, at the outside of the turn 4 wall. He slowed up heading into turn 3, and his Chevrolet experiencing some problems, so the Nebraska driver brings out our first caution, but it was kind of scary coming off of that turn. Some of the cars got a bit sideways as they came down to see the yellow flag unfurled by Roger Slack.
We might have to check with our chief statistician, Torch, but I cannot think of another driver in a professional stock car series from the state of Nebraska. We'll see if Torch can think of one. Carroll Adamy is ours, though. Unfortunately, the Dorothy Lynch car having problems. We'll be back with more from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, right after this. Well, guess what? We did think of some people from Nebraska.
The Kosiski brothers and their dad raced for many years in the Busch All-Star Tour Late Model Series. Steve also sat on the Paul Harker race, right? Dirt late models. This, I believe, is one of 2 paved racetracks in the entire state of Iowa.
Only one that I know of.
Now we're down to 1. Okay, well, it has a lot of racetracks in the area.
Mike Eddy, big problems here maybe. If he got anything into the radiator area, it could be a problem for that. Let's check in with Dave Burns.
Well, Mike Eddy, they report that there is no problem. He just has a little bit of structural damage, or actually just superficial damage. Same thing for Brandon Sperling. He brought the car onto pit road for just a few moments. They put some duct tape on the hood. He was able to get back out there. As for Mike Miller, we checked in with Carl Hyland, his crew chief, and Carl says the car is just a little bit loose right now. There's no way they want to come in this early. They'll stay out and try to chase down that loose condition.
David, any idea where Mike got the hit from?
Well, we know that Dave Sensiba is running right behind Mike Eddy, and George Hall, Brandon Sperling's crew chief, said that Brandon just checked up and got into the back of Dave. So those 3 cars may have been running together in a pack, and that may have been where the incident occurred.
That's the problem with starting deep, right?
With Carroll Adamy slowing off of turn number 4, it was at the track exit of the turn, so a lot of the drivers may not have seen it. The spotters may not have seen it because the car was tucked up well against the fence. You start 11th, you start 15th, you start 17th, there's that much more chance, Ralph, of getting involved with an accordion type effect. It looks like maybe Mike just got under someone momentarily with the right front.
When you're having a season with tough luck, boy, all sorts of things can go wrong. Well, for Steve Holzhausen, he's having a good season. He's out front right now. We'll be right back. They're still under caution here at Cedar Rapids, Iowa, at Hawkeye Downs. And as we showed you earlier, Carroll Adamy is out of it. What was the problem with that, Dave?
Well, apparently it was oil from Carroll Adamy's motor that started everything down here. They have a hole about the size of a baseball in the side of that motor. The big disappointment for them, that's a brand new power plant, and it is gone for today.
It sounds like it's gone for a while with a hole the size of a baseball.
Unfortunately, 2nd week in a row for this team to be the first car out of the race. They had motor problems last week at Wisconsin International Raceway and followed it up with, unfortunately, a poor showing this afternoon due to motor problems.
Pace car is off. We're about to go back to green with Roger Slack standing atop the racetrack in the flag stand with a green flag in hand. See that big arcing loop they take up the front straightaway and into turn 1. And we've got a change in the lead already. Holzhausen developing a bit of a problem coming off of turn number 2. It will be Raines, Loney, Smokestad, and maybe Joe Knott sneaking by. Boy, he just got hung out to dry.
He's now trying to gather back inside of Gary St. Amant, but he's not able to bring it down. I don't know if there's I would guess there may be a problem on acceleration. I know that earlier this season, Gary St. Amant had acceleration problems, a different circumstance where he could not get it off on the restarts, couldn't get up to speed quickly, and now Holzhausen fading back to 7th.
Well, the other problem could be tire wear as well. As you see Mike Miller go through, it's kind of a cool day out there. They only ran a handful of laps under green. Maybe his tires cooled off too much, and he didn't warm them up enough for the restart. Now, Harold, it's got to be much bigger than this. Harold Fair, Rick Beebe, they're going by him like a freight train now.
The pace Steve Holzhausen was setting early on was a rather hectic one. Let's check in with Dave Burns.
Well, guys, they have a right front tire going down. They're disgusted, and they're just trying to see how long they can hang out there, maybe get a yellow, but they're pretty sure the right front is going down on Steve Holzhausen's car.
Well, they might have run over something out on the racetrack from Carroll Adamy smacking the wall, or shame. And look at Loney going after Raines already. This young driver, the 33, as he goes to the outside of Raines, this crowd is going to come out of their seats. He's going to try to make the pass here on the front straightaway. Not going to happen there. If Brad Loney or Johnny Spa do anything right here today, they will leave this place in shambles.
They're going to take souvenir pieces with them out of the grandstand. Great battle here, and Joe Knott quietly moves around Ted Smokestad to get third. Smokestad's back and forth. Gary St. Amant is now fifth.
Loney, remember the key he said at the beginning of the show is getting through the middle of the turns well. So we'll have to see now if he is able to get a good drive through the center of the turn, and that's really the trickiest part, to get onto the gas.
And he's trying to do it here, getting through the braking area. He's climbed it to the backside on the inside now, Tony Raines. We'll see if that'll be something to do down in turn 3 here. He'll stay single file now, but I don't think it's over yet, Ron.
Oh, this one's just beginning. Look how he gets on the gas. See how he closes up? That's exactly what he's talking about. See, Tony Raines had a bit of a lead going into the turn, and boy, Brad just closed that right up as they got right through the center of the corner. That's exactly what Brad is talking about at the beginning of the show. If he can time that right, he can get a good drive coming off the turn and complete the pass by the time they get to the end of the other straightaway.
Lap traffic will give a breath for Tony Raines as the race leader. They'll go single file around Dave Anspaugh, then Sam Gottwald in the uncommon Pepsi Ford.
That time he didn't get a good of a drive. A lot of that will have to do, of course, with the slower traffic. Tony Raines is an M&M fanatic. Absolutely loves peanut M&Ms. Problem is, he's also superstitious. And if you know anything about racing superstitions, peanuts are a huge no-no. Look at Bob Seneker moving through the pack now in the Bluebird, the 84. Oh, here comes that challenge for the lead. Look how Loney got through the center of the turn. And is Loney going to complete the pass by the far end? He's going to get him on the outside. Maybe not.
Raines had to give him a lane down the front stretch, and now the exit, right where Brad was talking about, off of turn number 2, works this time.
We've got a new leader here at Hawkeye Downs. Brad Loney takes over the point. Tony Raines, Joe Knott, and Gary St. Amant all closing in, running 3rd and 4th behind him.
Joe Knott and Gary St. Amant have closed a 10-car length difference when Brad Loney is working around Tony Raines. They gobble them up. Those Fords are on a charge. As we see Tom Jones now exiting the pits in an unscheduled stop. See how close that 4-way battle is now for the lead.
Let's finish off this M&M story about Tony. He says he can buy a 2-pound bag of peanut M&Ms and eat the whole thing in one sitting. So what he does is he brings a box with him to the races as his treat. He stores them up in the back of the transporter, and he won't eat them until the race is over. But then, depending on whether or not he has a good day, he treats himself to a bag of M&Ms.
He certainly has eaten through a lot of bags as he's had a lot of good runs this year. He's second in points behind Scott Hansen. He's still looking for his first win, so he might not dig open that 2-pounder until he's got the victory in hand.
He's not afraid of the green ones, though, which, if you know racing superstitions, green is also a bad superstitious thing around a racetrack. What a good battle we got brewing here for the lead. It looks like Doug Mayer is about to go a lap down in the Jack Link's car, the 11. Doug says he's working on sponsorship to run the full season in that 11 next year, hopefully with the folks from Jack Link's alongside. Loney, no problem for him finding sponsorship. That kid's got more stickers on that car than just about anybody on the tour.
And Bun Saver's based here in Cedar Rapids. Flex Steel's based here in Cedar Rapids. H&W Motor Express is based here in Cedar Rapids. There's over 300 fans here from companies sponsoring Brad Loney's race car.
Loney starting to open up about a half of a second lead over Tony Raines. Joe Knott, Gary St. Amant, and Ted Smokestad round out the top 5. Then it's Miller, Beebe, Fair, Scott, and the 88 car of Mike Eddy rounding out the top 10. Hansen, by the way, if you're scoring at home, point leader, running in 12th.
Talked about Bob Seneker, started 19th. He's now up to the 15th position, so keep your eyes on a Bluebird. It'll make it 14th now as he got by Jack Landis a lap ago. Pole sitter and race leader at the outset was Steve Holtzhausen. He's back in 26 now as we looking
Look at Eddie. Looking him to the bottom. getting to the inside of Carl Muscat. And the 88 makes a bid for another position. That's the fight for 9th. And Sensiba coming right along with him. Dave Sensiba, former Rookie of the Year. That West Michigan Chevy dealers, Lane Automotive number 4. And looking Hansen. Boy, they're all going to go right by Muscat.
I think Dave Sensiba is playing a very smart race right now. He knows how hungry Mike Eddy is to get that bad luck wrench off his back, and the monkey is going to be flying off if Mike Eddy continues this pace. But Sensiba, let Mike Eddy create the holes. He'll follow suit.
Well, we got a problem over in turn 3. It is Bill Baird in the 26 car who loses it over in turn 3.
Bill was in front of 3 other race cars that were very close together coming into that turn. There may have been contact, and there's a bit of debris up there, but Bear looking for a good run today in the Saturn Machine Chevrolet. Loops it, bringing out our second caution.
Had his career best run at Lancaster Speedway earlier this year, finishing 2nd. Ran the I Love New York stickers all over the back of the car following weeks. So the Saturn Machine number 26. We'll turn it back around. Kevin Swinsky fans love the hats. Great hats. Welcome back to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Hawkeye Down Speedway. The Iowa 300 for the AC-Delco Challenge Series. And this yellow flag did a lot of good things for 2 drivers.
Steve Holtzhausen came in. He was back in 27th position. And here's Mike Eddy. He came into pit for a tire change. I think they changed the air cleaner, Dave.
Yeah, actually, we're standing in the pit for Steve Holtzhausen, and they're a little bit perplexed. The tire's a little bit down on air, but other than that, it looks fine, and apparently the bleeder valve is okay, too. So right now, they are combing over that thing, looking for a problem, but as you said, it was the brake that Steve Holtzhausen was looking for. We'll go check into the Mike Eddy situation as well.
He's back in.
Mike Eddy's back in, so they're still working on that front. The hood. Howard Thomas, Bill Dorsey at the left front corner.
Greg Dean, the jackman there, has cut his ponytail off to get better luck for Mike Eddy. That was last race. And
Dave Sensiba's dad working on that crew.
Bob. They keep looking in the air cowling. They took the air cleaner out. I don't know if there's an air cleaner back in there. They're trying to stay on lead lap, so they don't want to spend too much time on pit lane. But they did have that altercation with the right front getting dinged up a bit. They peeled the hood off. They actually took off the hood mount where it bolts right to the fender, right at the windshield. That's gone on the right side, so they're trying to get in that into the cowling there to get the air better through the 88 car.
Mike right now is dead last in line. He is still on the lead lap, but he's got a lot of cars to pass to get back to the front.
Scored right now in 29th position is Mike Eddy.
45 laps complete of the scheduled 300. Brad Loney, Tony Raines still out front. Then Joe Knott, Gary St. Amant, Ted Smokestad. That's your top 5. Beebe, Miller, Baird, Sensiba, and Hansen, the top 10. So the points battle right now, you got Hansen in 10th, the point leader. The man who's trying to chase him, Gary St. Amant, running in 4th.
And the guy in 2nd in points, Tony Raines, runs 2nd.
Beginning of the show, we also talked about Bob Seneca, the Bluebird right now, runs in 13th. For Seneca, that's no problem. He might be just pacing himself.
Not a problem at all. It's going to come down to tire wear and being able to use what you have underneath. Your tire conservation, I think, should be the title sponsor of this race.
Here's your battle for 5th. Now that's Rick Beebe in the yellow 23, who announced earlier today he will have this car full-time next season here on the AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour. The question then becomes, what happens to Mike Garvey, as those two have shared that 23 car over the course of the season? No word yet on where Mike will be. I'd love to see both those drivers here full-time next year.
Let's hope he can land something with his Coors Light sponsorship. And Garvey, an outstanding driver, especially on the high banks.
Smokestad, the 32, announced earlier as well that Super America will be leaving this team at the completion of the 96 season. No word yet as to what will become of Smokestad racing operation.
Actively seeking sponsorship is the official phraseology, and Ted is a great spokesman for any sponsor.
And sometimes as fans, it's hard for us to understand why these sponsors do what they do. You would think, after having been on that car for a couple of years now, that the fruits of that effort really paying off, as Teddy is having one of the best years he's ever had on the tour. And just when you would think they'd be in a position to capitalize on their involvement, they decide corporately to step aside. Who knows? Mike Miller, the 18 car, running right with him. certainly having his best season. Got his first ASA win 15 years ago. Hadn't seen a victory lane on the ASA Tour since. Down to twice this year.
Also a man who was looking for his 3rd consecutive pole. He was the last car to qualify last night and missed it by 5/1000ths. That's 0.005 tenths of hundredths of thousandths of a second. I mean, it's less than a blink of an eye.
It's quick. We know
yes,
that.
it is. That's what I'm trying to say, man.
Now here comes BB. Look to the inside of Smokestack. Got through the middle of the corner well again, and it made the difference once again. Now Mike Miller tries it, and Smokestack shuts the lid of the cookie jar on him. And he'll have to hang on behind him.
5th, 6th, and 7th here through turns 3 and 4. Again, we mentioned 5 degrees of banking on the bottom. That's where you want to run, but there is compound banking to hold that car down if you do get a groove and a half or so up the racetrack at turns 3 and 4.
Here's a look at the field coming by, and we're holding for Mike Eddy, who's right there coming up at turn 4, and he's got to hustle, Dave, because if he's not careful, the leaders are about a straightaway behind him.
What did you change in the car? Do you think you solved it?
No, we got a problem with the carburetor right now. For some reason, it won't. The throttle doesn't come all the way back, so it's idling real fast. Really don't know why, but we're trying to figure it out.
I understand you changed the air cleaner in that stop. Is that right?
No, we just took it out, get it out of the way.
Okay, they went to work on the inside there, guys, and hopefully they'll have Mike able to come back through the pack. He's passed a few cars already.
Of course, that's Howard Thomas, crew chief for Mike Eddy. And the battle for the lead starting to get real tight. As you see, Brad Loney and Tony Raines hooking up to wage war once again. And we were wondering about just taking the air cleaner off, if you would do that, or if you'd have to run, but apparently you can just take it off and not affect the performance too much.
These hoods sit right on top of the air cleaner cover, but the cowling itself is critical to get air through the carburetor. That's where the air-gas mixture comes from. And with the problem they're having with the linkage, I would think that Mike Eddy's putting his foot through the floorboard, trying to get that throttle all the way open. A linkage problem, the linkage is located right next to the carburetor. So if you take that cowling off on the inside, you're sacrificing maybe a dirt being sucked down in there, but linkage is what you want to get after to get that gas pedal and horsepower down on the racetrack.
Fortunately, this is not a racetrack that's known for being a dirty racetrack. Not a lot of dust or debris blowing across it.
Now, next weekend at Toledo Speedway, we'll have trees along the backstretch, and that becomes a problem.
A lot of leaves in the fall.
No problem here.
Let's check in once again as you watch Brad Loney working through lap traffic with Dave Burns.
Well, Ralph, I want to comment on your comment about debris. Apparently this weekend there has been some problem with that. Steve Holzhausen had a small hole in his tire, and yesterday when Joe Knott qualified, he came back in from 3 laps during his qualifying run with a right rear that was going down and a shredded right front. He ran into something which almost cost him his qualifying position yesterday.
Ralph, we mentioned how bumpy this racetrack is, and if there's whoop-de-doos off of turn 2, that's a patched area. Going into turn 1, there's a bump that actually sets the car. If you're too far to the inside, I would see Harold Fair going over that bump and kind of just adjust the car a bit as you enter the turn.
That's the fight for 8th place. Harold Fair in the 81. Battle of the White Wagons here. The 4 of Dave Sensiba and the 53 of point leader Scott Hansen. Harold has his new engine in, working well. It's nicknamed the Beast. It's got to be good. Harold says they've been working on this motor all season long. They think they have finally got it right where they want it. I asked him if the chassis has been okay, and he said, well, you know, we really don't know because we haven't had the motor strong enough to really test the chassis. If the motor's not strong, it won't really tax that engine, and you don't know what you're going to have.
Certainly potent enough to keep off Dave Sensiba for the time being. Sensiba comes into this race in 5th in points, 130 points out, and Sensiba has put together some great runs this year. Might have had 2 victories to this point. He's winless yet, but certainly a contender each and every week. And if Harold Fair continues to improve here, we're looking at a possible top 10 finish for Harold in the points.
Harold Fair should be an arm wrestling champion. There is nobody in the paddock area that can grab a steering wheel as strong as Harold Fair. We've got Doug Mayer in the wall in the front straightaway. The 11 car into the wall. Jack Link's machine has its problems here on the front straightaway. Did not see what got him loose, but he has torn off the front of that car.
Again, this is a fiberglass body. Looks probably worse than it is, but he did back the car into the fence, and that's where you get into frame problems. If he did get clipped by another car that sent him into the wall, we'll find out in just moments if we can. But Doug is okay in the car. That's a good sign. He's just looking things over.
Great to see, especially after last year, what happened to him at Topeka. Took a tremendous hit. So Doug Mayer, the Jack Link's no-touch packed machine into the wall in the front straight. Let's see if we can figure out what happened.
Doug was a lap down. working just ahead of Yale Conley. And Conley and Mayer touch bumpers off of turn number 4, sending that white car around. The 11 car of Doug Mayer now sitting outside the turn 1 wall just as they enter the turn.
And you know what I think happened to him, what really ripped the front off, is there's a crossover right there at the bottom of the flag stand, and I think he might have caught part of that, and that's what really ripped that front off. But good news is that Doug Mayer is okay. Moving around in the car. Don't know if he'll be able to return, but at least he's all right. All right, as we go out to break, we want to give you a real-time look at Doug Mayer coming into your face. There's a look at Doug Mayer.
I'm here.
Walking back, and Dave Burns is with him. Dave, how's he doing?
Well, Doug is walking. I mean, to me, that's a victory because there's a lot. We don't like to see anybody hit the wall, but least of all you, man. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I feel bad for our team and the people we're working with, Jack Links and No Touch. This was our best effort so far. The car was running better than ever. I've been much more comfortable. We've only run 5 times in this series. We were running with the guys. They were coming by with some lap cars. Somebody got impatient and got in the back to me. Unfortunately, these cars have back bumpers. They also got front bumpers. You know, our time will come.
Now, you smacked the wall. Was that a pretty good shot that you took then, or did it rally around a bit?
I tried to save it. I got turned around, and then it tapped the front end and turned around a little bit, so it shakes you up. Unfortunately, it's not as hard on me as it was on the car. Like I say, I feel bad for the people at Jack Links and No Touch. They've been very supportive, and we're going to put this together until we get it right.
Okay, I think you'll see Doug back again for the rest of 1996.
Well, you saw Mike Eddy diving back into the pits as they continue to work on the Goodwrench Service Pontiac. And Doug has had his successes behind the wheel, especially in karting.
Internationally, Doug Mayer has done very well. In his business, Franklin Motorsports is a big kart distributor. He also raced some Trans Am prior to coming to ASA.
And we're back to green. Brad Loney out in front still of Tony Raines and Joe Knott. The 0 car is Tom Jones. It's 4th in the field, but not running in 4th position. Jonesy right now is running 29th, some 3 laps down.
Made an unscheduled pit stop under green early on, and as fast as the pace was set earlier by Steve Holtzhaus, and he went down a lap early quickly, and getting back up to speed, lost another one.
And this race is really moving pretty quick. We have already completed 72 laps, the scheduled 300. Most of the teams taking advantage of that last yellow.
Brad Loney leads Tony Raines down the front stretch, and the fans continue to stay on their feet for Loney. They're also rooting on Johnny Spa, who won last night's Last Chance race and the 50-lap race run here by the local cars that Spa runs on a weekly basis. Johnny now up into the 18th position.
With a clear racetrack in front of him, we'll see if Loney can pull away from Raines at all. Joe Knott looks pretty racy. He's been all over the backside of Tony Raines. Tim Sauter, the 55 car, makes its way down pit road, and Hanspaw is already in there as well. Problems for those 2 cars. Brad's opening up a little bit of light between him and Raines. It's listed at only 0.3 of a second. Look at this fight for 7. Muscatton comes sliding up onto the inside. Harold Fair in the 81 looked like a puff of smoke as he got back onto the gas. Maybe the beast engine not doing just what he wants it to yet. Senspa in the 4, and then Hansen and Seneker and Sowinski right behind them. That's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th all running together. And actually it continues on back from there because Noodleman's in the 14 behind him. Watch this from earlier on here with Senspa.
Right in the center of the screen, you see why Carl Muscatton got the run here. Harold Fair and Dave Senspa made contact in turn number 2. As much a momentum racetrack as this is, Scott Hansen had to check up. You see his left front wheel nearly locked up. Carl Muscatton shot to the inside and gained 2 spots.
Now Harold is able to pull away, but see the smoke?
Yep.
Every time he gets on the gas, there's a little puff coming out of the car. Now the fight for second is starting to tighten up, and Loney is starting to pull away. Raines with his hands full of Joe Knott, Valvoline, Ramey Ford, and Gary St. Amant's wins Ford. Chevy, Pontiac, and 2 Fords rounding out the top 4.
gal in Remus, Michigan. Linda Crichton is 91 years of age. She said she is the #1 Joe Knott fan. Could be the oldest Joe Knott fan, but she was watching Joe Knott win his first race at Lancaster. She was standing up, clenching her hands till they ached till the finish of that one. So, Linda, if you're watching today, relax. It's early on, but Joe is doing extremely well.
Actually, it's 2 Pontiacs and 2 Fords in the top 4. Loney in a Pontiac as well. He used to run the Chevy. Knott is definitely quicker through the center of the turns than is Raines. We, again, go back to the beginning of the show where that is the key here at Hawkeye Downs. It's just that Joe has not been able to do anything about it yet. He closes up on him, and sometimes he's actually been tapping the brakes as they come off the turn because he's a little too tight on him.
I think Raines is trying to stay close to Brad Loney, but Brad Loney has 3 track championships here, including 1 on the dirt before they paved this racetrack. Loney has the setup now. I think Raines is just going to have to settle in here in second. Try to hold off Joe Knott. As you mentioned, he's a lot faster, but look at that, right on the tail.
But then he can't get him because he's got to get back on the brakes at that point to keep from hitting him.
Raines with a fresh motor under that hood now, really getting off the turns well, but as you mentioned, getting in and getting through the corners, as Brad Loney mentioned, is critical, and coming off is even more important. That's where Raines is pulling just a bit.
He keeps holding off Joe Knott. Raines is going to earn himself a full 2-pound bag of those M&Ms, not just a little pocket size.
And this racetrack is nearly symmetrical, a half mile, which means the racetrack is 1/4 mile straightaway, 1/4 mile turn. So half the racetrack, you're turning. And getting through these corners as flat as it is, Steve Holtzhausen, and I watched him very intently during practice yesterday. Brad Loney does the same thing. They come in, they roll through the corner. They're not on the gas, turning it sideways. They're very smooth off the gas, very smooth on the gas. They mash it once they see the straightaway.
It's a real arcing racetrack. You're almost, even down there on the straightaways, kind of arcing at all times. You can tell by looking at the darker patches on the racetrack, which is where the rubber has been laid down, like you can see through there in the turns. It really kind of arcs around here. That's where some of that patching was done on the inside down there. Most of these teams happy about the fact we're coming back here twice next year. This is a racetrack and a group of race fans that everybody really enjoys. Cedar Rapids fans, big followers of the American Speed Association. And look at Knott now. Tries the outside. We knew he was getting through the center of the turn well. Once he got to the outside, he had no problem getting around Tony Raines.
Great move by Joe Knott. I was just going to mention this is only the 3rd time visit for the American Speed Association. Raines has run here previous to an ASA stop at this event. But Tony this is only his 3rd race in an ASA car at this facility, and Knott made it work there off of turn 2.
This is that battle for 8th again with Miss Scott, Sensiba, Hanson, and Seneca. That's Harold Fair just in front of them. Harold right now owns 7th position. That's 8th, 9th, and 10th right there with Seneca in 11th. In 12th.
I talked to Carl Scott just before the race. He said we have to work on not only qualifying well, which I think we have figured out, but racing extremely quick. He worked on his race setup yesterday. He said we're now starting to use the practice session for a race setup rather than a qualifying setup because it's so difficult just to make an ASA race. The driver of the Cartwright Chevrolet now says he's consistently working on his race setup, hoping this setup will work. He said the setup we have is brand new. Dave Taylor's not here this weekend. We're either going to go right to the front or right to the back. It appears to be working so far for the driver in the number 8.
That is key with this type of racing. Most of the drivers will tell you, including Hanson, who you see there in the center in the 53, they don't even worry about a qualifying setup. They qualify with a race setup. And they feel that once they have a good, balanced race setup, their qualifying in race trim will only be maybe a 10th or 2 off. So they figure that's good enough sometimes to sneak a pole, but certainly to put you within the top 5, which they feel comfortable with.
And Carl Scott, running for Rookie of the Year this year, just didn't want to sacrifice that point where he's like, hey, if I get my race set up, I might not be able to make the show. And that was a concern, as Carl did run a limited schedule the last 2 seasons and did not qualify for some events.
2 wins for the 53 this year. And we are rapidly approaching the 1/3 mark here at the Hawkeye Downs, the Iowa 300. We're coming back to Cedar Rapids after this. Brad Loney, the Bun Saver, number 33, having a good run here today. And if you're wondering what the heck is a bun saver. It's a seat cushion.
Self-inflating device, Ralph. You can set your own pressure, as they say. It's an inflatable cushion. Self-inflating is pop the valve open, have a seat, and adjust it to your bun.
Pretty cool, too. Pretty neat how they work. That's that battle for 8th, and what a good fight it's been. Sensiba trying to get to the inside of Muscat. Carl not having anything to do with it. You see the rear end dancing on that Monte Carlo, number 8. Came off the 2 there and put that whole thing sideways.
Boy, Sensiba is playing a very smart race. As I mentioned earlier, following Mike Eddy through. Now he's not able to challenge Carl Muscat just yet, but I think he's working him enough to where Muscat knows he's there. The mirror is full.
Look at Seneca, though. Seneca coming to the outside of Hansen. He'll make the pass. And the blooper, I'm telling you, here he comes again. Seneca is sneaking right back into this one. He is 11th and slowly moving his way up. Here comes Sawinski. This car has been awesome this year. LeFevre Racing, Rounded Sharp number 1, has got the Paschal Rookie of the Year deal all locked up. He's already won 3 races, and before the year is out, Jim, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get a 4.
He just moves around Scott Hansen here for the 12th position. He is now being compared to Scott Hansen, who set the standard for ASA rookies. In 1989, Scott Hansen scored 2 victories in his rookie season and 12 top 5 finishes. Right now, after 15 events, Kevin has 10 top 10 finishes, 5 in the top 5, and a great run, record-setting 3 wins in his rookie season.
And Hansen finished 3rd in the points that year, and there's no doubt that Sawinski can improve on that back right there and maybe finish 2nd.
He's 6th in points right now, 136 back, and that's about the swing it would take for him to gain the lead if the leaders have problems in the points in this race today.
The worst a Rookie of the Year has ever done in the point standings is Tim Theodua, who finished 15th back in 91. Tim, of course, moved on to NASCAR.
Didn't take long for Bob Seneca to get to the outside of Dave Sensiba. Sensiba not able to pass Carl Muscat. Now sees the 84 in the 1 car. Go right on by. Sawinski now moving up into the top 10.
There's Noodleman in the Sitka car, the orange car right behind him. That 14 car, kind of a rental ride deal this weekend.
He's got help from Sitco, and he's looking forward to some more races. Kevin Noodleman, who was the Winston Regional Champion, runs here and at Elko Speedway, so there was a series here between the 2 racetracks, and he's got some experience. And talked to Coroner Bud Gavin and got himself a ride in the Sitco 14. Also sponsored in part by Comparts Boris.
He got Rick Beebe up against the wall coming out of turn 2, so that'll bring out the yellow. Frustrations for Rick, of course, just announcing that he will be driving this car full-time in 1997. After being behind the wheel of a couple of cars here in 96, this one part-time. So the 4th caution comes out. The 53 of Hansen really needed this too, as we've got problems with the 95 car as well. Looks like he might have been involved.
Chuck Henningsen, the road racer, the right rear, as you see him entering pit lane, has some damage there. He may have gotten together with Rick Beebe. Beebe looks like he ricocheted off of turn number 2, and it's about that time. Lap 111, and the leaders are coming down pit lane.
Is everybody pulling to the bottom to utilize the infield quarter mile here as a pit lane. Looks like some of the drivers will stay out. Some of them will have to pit on the next time by, as pit lane is closed right now.
And this weekend, the ASA Board of Directors, made up of owners and drivers, made a firm stand on the ruling. Only lead lap car drivers will be able, lead lap teams will be able to pit the first time by. Once the pits get back open, only cars on lead lap will be able to pit. If a driver does come back in to pit with the leaders more than 1 lap down, or actually 1 lap or more down, they'll get a stop and go penalty and really get no advantage and start in the back of the single file run.
Cloney, Nutt, Rains, Smokestad, St. Amant, Fair, Seneca, Sawinski, all to the bottom, all looking to make their way down pit road. And they will do so. The rest of the cars, of course, that want to pit that are laps down will have to wait. And Dave Burns is in the pits in the 53 car.
Yeah, Scott Hansen is in, and they're working on the right side. Scott is on the turn 1 end of the track, turn 1 and 2, which means after they bring the car down, he'll have to go around this inside quarter mile, avoid all of the other cars that are pulling out in order to get himself back out. He's shaking his head now. It's taking a long time, and he is now down and away. Hansen will make his way back around and back out.
Now you've seen Loney come out and almost get together with Seneca. Loney did get together with Mike Eddy earlier this year.
Last race here, Joe Knott and Mike Eddy took each other out of the race coming out of pit lane. Very close call there.
We'll be back with more. Hey, happy birthday, Bart Benson. That's the sister of Winston Cuthbert, Johnny B. Welcome back to Hawkeye Downs, the AC-Delco Challenge Series in round 16 of a 20-race schedule. See, Rick Beebe is out of the car. They will walk him across to the infield.
That was an extremely hard lick. You see the front end there. There's Rick walking across. He had a foot injury earlier this year, burned his foot, the right side of his gas pedal foot, and he has those covers now on his shoes that you see a lot of the race drivers wear.
There's Aaron Huff, the one guy I thought might be able to do a knack over the whoop-de-doo section here. Aaron, a former motorcycle star, off-road hair scrambles racer. It looks like he's taken the steering wheel off. I don't know what the problem is. And we do hear that Aaron's brother is going to be making his way to the ASA Tour as well next year. And Jack Landis right now in the 07, competing on the Pat Shower Rookie of the Year award, is credited with the lead. Stay with us. We're coming back. If you're going to be a huge fan of Kevin Sawinski, you got to be able to wear a hat like that. And I think a guy who could pull that off, my good buddy Eli Gold. Make sure you catch Eli Gold live. Tune in tonight at 6 p.m. for Race Talk with Eli at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on TNN Motorsports. And if you want to call in and be a part of the show, call 1-800-CALL-ELI. Tell him he needs a yellow and black Kevin Sawinski hat. It'd be perfect for Eli. He could do that.
Did they make one big enough? He's a big guy.
Oh, yeah. Eli's got the right attitude for it, though, I'm telling you.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He could. Well, Rick Beebe took a hard hit. How's he feeling, Dave?
He's feeling rather hard hit. He's just spoken with Terry Garrison, his crew chief, and also Dan Hodges, his car owner. You didn't want to do that today. You had a new sponsor on board this weekend.
Yeah, we did. Had designated hitter on there. I can't remember what I had on there, actually. Got knocked out for a little bit there and just came back, too. And I'll tell you, the designated hitter and Hodges Motorsports, St. Louis Gear gave me a great car today. Got a new T-Zar engine in it and running good. And we were just kind of trying to cruise a little bit, not be impatient. And thought maybe we could have had a good finish, but once again, the old luck got to us.
Now, you had a problem with power steering or something in the rear end as well?
Yeah, about 5 laps before, we'd evidently broke a power steering bracket or lost a power steering belt or something, and that really wasn't affecting us too much. I noticed we were smoking a little bit. I could see it in the mirror, and I don't know if that was from power steering line or if something got in the right rear tire, but blew the right rear tire there coming off it too, and just wasn't anything we could do about it.
Okay, guys, well, Rick's okay. That designated hitter is a baseball simulation game, and perhaps that would have been the right game to be playing today for Rick. He hit hard.
Well, here are the upcoming races that you can see for the AC-Delco Challenge Series live, of course, right here on TNN. Next weekend, Toledo. The last time ever the ASA will be racing at Toledo for a while. Then we get to go back to Salem, Indiana. Looking forward to that. And we'll wrap the season up live here on TNN. We will crown the ASA champ from Southern National Speedway. First time we're going to visit Kenly, North Carolina. Really looking forward to that.
Within the next couple of weeks, we'll find out exactly where we're going for 1997. 20 races on the schedule. There's 28 racetracks that want to host an ASA event. A lot of choosing to do in the next couple of weeks.
You can see the tape on the front of Brandon Sperling's car, the 15, as we go back to green. Jack Landis is actually credited with the lead. That is the 07 car. The Maisto Noah Yoder, silver and black entry.
Landis in his rookie season led the rookie standings early on after a 6th place finish at Lakeland, and slowly tried to fight his way back from some ignition bugs in that car, dropping that team out of a couple of events, and Jack really trying to get it back on track. He has finished 8th at Anderson. That's his best finish in the last 12 races. Other than that, it's been about 17th. So looking for a good run here this afternoon, the 07.
Tony Raines going to try the outside of him as they fight for the lead. Loney, Seneca, St. Amant trying to come with him. Landis not making it easy. Raines goes to the outside. Loney trying to decide whether he wants to go high or low. Here goes Raines. And Jack does a good job of fighting with him. Raines will get credited with the new spot now. And Loney will try to take over second. Does so. And here comes the Bluebird. Bob Seneca moving around to the outside of Jack Landis. fight for third position as we go side by side. And Bob will take his time. He will not rush in there and just try to get around Landis as quick as he can. He knows he's got quite a bit of racing left to go as we're working lap 126 on the scheduled 300.
And Landis assumed the lead on the restart because he did not come in and pit. These guys have fresher right side tires. Tony Raines led the charge out of the pits. He beat out then leader Brad Loney the bunch, and now as they make their way past, we see Gary St. Amant, who elected to pit there, try to battle the wheel and battle Bob Seneca off the fourth turn.
And that is now side by side for fourth position. And if you get a good look at these two cars from the nose, you'll notice they're running two different noses. St. Amant has a more 96, 97 style Ford nose. Seneca runs the older version.
St. Amant waited till after Anderson Speedway, the shortest racetrack, to put that brand new nose on there, and has kept it clean since.
Smart move.
Yes, indeed.
Tear up everything at Anderson. And well, it's kind of hanging Seneca out to dry now. He didn't get around Landis. He lost the spot to St. Amant. He lost the spot to Sensiba. If he's not careful, Sawinski is ready to pounce on him in the one car.
And Sensiba is able to hold it down well below where Gary St. Amant is running, trying to get around Jack Landis. St. Amant looks high. Lap car Bill Baird there. Baird spun earlier and has fought his way to stay just one lap down, but now we see Landis running out of patience and almost getting to the backside there.
So St. Amant currently running in 7th. Points championship fight with Hansen running in 14. Mike Eddy, by the way, has moved all the way back up to 15 in the 88 car after going to the tail end of the field after having problems.
And he came in on that last pit stop as well, so he's got 4 fresh tires, as does Steve Holtzhausen. So we'll continue to monitor the progress of Eddy and the pole sitter, Steve Holtzhausen, this afternoon.
And he is on the lead lap. Holtzhausen is up to 10th and also on the lead lap. So those two far from out of it. Landis loses a spot to St. Amant. And all this fighting going on with these cars here has allowed Raines and Loney to pull away from those. There they are out front, and here's a look at the gap all the way back to that fight for third. There's Gary St. Amant.
So as
Seneca hits Landis.
As Dave Sensiba is trying to get around Bill Baird, Gary St. Amant did it first. So that held those guys up for a straightaway deficit now on the leaders. Boy, look at Sawinski thread the needle. Tell me he's not a rookie, Ralph.
That is no rookie by any stretch of the imagination. But you know, we knew that before the season even started because of his successes in the other divisions.
1995 Artco champion, did some touring with the All-Pro Series, so he's used to going to different racetracks, and interestingly enough, he's never been to Anderson Speedway, finishes second there, wins at Milwaukee Mile, which is amazing to have any rookie do that because it comes down to a tire war, and picking up his third victory, I think, has really turned a lot of heads towards Kevin Sawinski, now known as Kevin Sawinwinski.
Sawinwinski, yeah. I like that. And you know, I think it's also an indication, it's very similar to when Nigel Mansell came over on the IndyCar Tour. The short track racing that Sawinski did was great preparation for what he was going to do here with the ASA. Just like Nigel running Formula One is very similar to running on the IndyCar Tour. It's not like you went from a sprint car to a stock car.
Kevin had a limited number, I believe 11 starts in ASA, including right here at Cedar Rapids both times last year. Sawinski piloted Gene Coleman's car. Now Gene Coleman involved with Scott LeFevor's operation and the Brown & Sharp sponsor number 1.
Here's your leaders once again, back out front. And that battle is a hot one. Only a 1/10 of a second separating the two as they get ready to go around the Sturgis Middle School's car of Dave Anspaugh.
Following up on Sawinski has 2 top 10 finishes here. He's run each of the 3 ASA events run at Hawkeye Downs.
Here's the fight for 11. It is Hansen. And on the outside of him is the 10 car of Tony Roper, sporting a new paint scheme. And Mike Eddy in the 88 coming right along with him.
Tony Roper's wife, Michelle, and the crew guys spent this past Wednesday night looking at the race car, trying to get it to look better, more pick-upable, if you will, that's a technical term, on camera and on the racetrack. Yellow and black, very good colors working together. And Roper now working the Child's Tire Chevy up towards the front. And the crew's very positive about it, but they sure didn't like taking decals on and off until Michelle thought the paint job was just right.
Well, she did a good job. It was worth the effort. I think that car looks great. There's a hint of red on it as well, just above the yellow. Good-looking race car. Mike Eddy right behind him, having fought his way up through the field. Mike has tried everything he can to change around here a little bit this weekend. Normally chooses a pit stall in the turn 4 area. This time they chose one over the turn 1 area. I asked him why. I said, just for change, see if we can shake some of this bad luck off.
And he did qualify 15, so I would think the fast guys like Hansen and Eddie, who didn't qualify the greatest, want to be on the ends. They don't want to be on that straightaway on the small oval where it can get real congested. On the turn, you have a little more of a room to get in and get out. So I think the pole winners and the top 10 qualifiers kind of took the best spots, and that's maybe what Mike was left with.
We also want to send our wishes out to Julie Dorsey, the daughter of Bill Dorsey, who works on Mike Eddy's crew, the Lollipop Man. That's probably the best way to call him. Hands out lollipops to everybody.
Julie's on the mend. She started talking just a couple days ago after a long stay in the hospital, so it's great to see her on the way up.
Huge ASA fan. Get better, Julie. Hurry back to the racetrack. Leggett Hansen going after Harold Fair. We talked about Harold's grip earlier. It's like shaking hands with King Kong. And he's not necessarily a big guy, but just an incredible grip. The driver in the 81, the AC-Delco, CarQuest 81.
Lifelong mechanic out of Detroit, Michigan, sold his gas station about 2.5 years ago. He and his son are 2 of the 3 full-time members of this race team. They also field the car for Alec Pincinel, who will return to action at Toledo Speedway next weekend.
Gail Conley in the 3 cars running at 15th a lap down. As you watch the leaders making their way down the backstretch. In the concession stand, I wonder if they send us up a hot dog or 2. We'll be back. We're under our 5th caution flag here today. That's Noodleman climbing out of the car. He is involved in a wreck with Mike Miller, and here's a good look at Mike and Brett Bell. Let's check in with Dave.
Well, here are your leaders, Tony Raines and Brad Loney. You're looking at Raines. They get the left side tires on. Tony's out and away. Brad Loney having problems now with the left front. He gets the Bun Saver Pontiac out. Both of these cars pitted not long ago and got right side tires. Now they've got a good set of lefts. And as you saw, Tony Raines' crew today was the better of the 2.
This is all taking place on lap 149, so we're basically halfway home here today. And this wreck was kind of involved with Gail Conley as well in the 3 car. Let's show you a replay so you can get an idea what happened in this. Watch the
3 car. Going into turn 2, he's underneath Harold Fair. As they come off the turn, he and Harold, looked like Harold may have come down, or Yale came up. Nonetheless, it pinched off the corner for Yale, right to the outside with the 2 red cars there. Kevin Noodleman also getting up in the wall. Might have knocked the brake line off as he stove right into Brett Bell's 56. The car spinning the inside there is Mike Miller. Heavy front end damage on the Car Cop AFC 1000 Pontiac, and you see Conley finally spinning into view.
Poor Brett Bell. I told him earlier in the week, and I said, Brett, I almost hate to talk about you because every time we start saying about the good things that are happening to you, that happens to you.
He was about 3 inches away from clearing that. He just got hooked in the left front wheel. It took the wheel out of his hand by Mike Miller's fender. Watch the 2 red cars here.
Former winner of the Copper World Classic for Southwest Tour cars, Brett Bell, now Wonder Bar Pepsi, Casey's General Stores number 56. Look at Eddie sneaks by. If anybody's had terrible luck, should be Mike this year. And then Miller just gets clipped and gets into Brett, and then Noodleman drills him in the door. There's Mike Miller's cars. They got to work on the front of that one.
Critical for Miller to have a good finish. Came in 193 markers down after qualifying. His charge to the top may be halted here. 7th in points behind Sawinski, beating out Joe Knott for that position heading into this event.
Well, the work will continue on Mike Miller's number 18, and we'll figure out what's going on with the rest of them. Good time to hit the ASA TNN Souvenir Rig. That's Roger Slack with the yellow flag in hand. ASA's official starter. His grandfather, by the way, owns Cayuga Speedway in Canada.
Recently sold. Roger's telling me yesterday he's been flagging for 10 years. He's 22 years of age.
There's a good look at Mike Eddy. Mike spent a lot of time this weekend helping a guy who's battling for his first points championship, Gary St. Amant. He actually climbed behind the wheel of Gary's wins number 7. Took a few laps.
Mike Eddy out in the 7 car.
Can't get no speed out of it. That's what you get down in the 90s. 4-speed.
Killed it the first time at the 4-speed.
Toughing. Well, he's so used to driving the Pontiac, you know.
Gary said he ran 50 laps on tires and never got a 10th quicker or slower.
Look at him kind of sliding that Ford around. Everybody got a little nervous at that point watching it. Tim brought it back.
Well, that makes me scared to turn.
Consultation going on.
Well, Gary is over and asked me if I'd take his car for a ride and tell him what I thought. And so I took it for a ride and told him what I thought. He's searching, and that's the only way you find out sometimes is get somebody else's opinion.
Exactly. You know, Mike hit it right on the head. You know, we're searching a little bit, and, you know, we've noticed some cars out there quite a bit faster than ours. And I don't know, the car doesn't feel very good to me, especially on new tires. We might be okay. You know, it seemed like no matter what, if we go out on new tires, we run 19.0s. We go out on 50-lap tires, we run 19.0s.
And we go back to green. One thing, as you see Steve Holzhausen, by the way, back in the lead in the 5 car after pit stops, that Mike did say was, Gary must be a great race car driver because this thing handles like a pig. Sometimes it's not necessarily that the car doesn't handle well, it's just maybe you're not used to that stop.
And whatever Mike Eddy did, he did it right because Gary Santamon out-qualified him, and now he's beating him on the racetrack. Gary's in 10th, and Mike is back in 15th.
So the pig's running pretty good. It's a quick pig. It might be a pig, but it's a quick pig. Steve Holzhausen out front in the number 5. Jack Landis having a pretty good run here today for Noah Yoder and the folks at Maisto. Maisto, of course, the folks that do all those great die-cast cars. That's the battle for the lead here on lap 159. Johnny Spa, local driver in the 03, running in 3rd. Grandstand fans loving that as well, as both the hometown boys having a pretty good run here today. Spa looking maybe to go full-time on the ASA Tour next year and run for the coveted Pat Schauer Rookie of the Year award.
Johnny's being helped by Midwest Plumbing this weekend and Clement Truck Sales out of Iowa, so he's not only a local driver looking to do more in ASA, but very involved in the community as well. And he got
Johnny.
He might have been running here when it was dirt. Sure looked like that was a dirt move there.
And there you see the other local native, Brad Loney, just behind Tony Raines, who's closing in on this as well. Well, Kevin Noodleman's day is done. Let's check in with Dave Burns.
Yeah, Kevin took a little bit of a shot down at turn 2 down there. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. You know, it's really bad. We were running really good. We pitted the first time and got the car a little tight. We were just going to ride it out for the second one stop, and, you know, we were going to fix it up. But we just ended up, the guy spun out, and we got up in the high stuff, and just nowhere to go when you get in that stuff, but into the wall.
Disappointing for Kevin, guys, because he's run a lot of laps here at the Hawkeye Downs Speedway. The other guys involved in the incident, Yale Conley was the car that spun. He just has superficial damage. He's all right. Brett Bell's Wonder Bar team changed the battery and the shock on the left rear, got him back out. It looks like he's back up to speed.
Brett is currently credited with 26th in that Wonder Bar Pepsi Casey General Store car, and Gail Connolly, the good doctor, is credited with 19th right now. Look at Johnny Spa with Tony Raines side by side and Loney right behind him.
Raines from Wisconsin does not like the friendly attitude of the neighbors from Iowa. They're behind him and next to him. Spa in the 03, Loney in the 33. Making a difficult run here for fellow Pontiac driver Tony Raines as Raines try to get back to the front. He's got a mirror full of those guys.
And Joe Knott in the 48 sneaks into this one too. That Valvoline Raby Ford, the Thunderbird, with some help from the musical group Lone Star now. Turns out Lone Star, if you follow country music here on TNN, one of the hottest bands now in the country music scene. There's some fans of Legends car racing as well. So a couple of band members play around with that. Joe got to meet them in Minnesota while they were up there at the State Fair while ASA was racing there on Labor Day weekend. Now the folks at the band Lone Star helping Joe with his racing operations. Send him a fax today, wishing him good luck out to the racetrack.
Joe not feeling the greatest. He's a little under the weather. He said he has a cold and there's a big pain in the middle of his back. When he's in the race car for an extended period of time, it really starts to act up. So
yeah, that big pain right now might be Scott Hansen, who's closing in on him, Dave.
Well, hopefully they're going to be able to do that without any wet weather here. We've had plenty of that this weekend, but we do have some cloud cover moving in. that is not going to be a significant factor. They're not going to worry about the handling because of the clouds. Most of the drivers told me that when it's very hot during the day, that would make a difference, and they might worry about their setups when the clouds come out. Today, since it's so cool down here, see, we're still in jackets down here, it won't be that big a problem.
Now, one of the things the drivers told me is that this racetrack, especially when we run here in July, tends to get real slippery. With the cooler temperatures here and the cloud cover, that will not be a problem.
I talked to Dave Martin, tire specialist for Steve Holzhausen. In July, he had an infrared sensor. He said the track temperature just sitting out was 130 degrees, not with the tire temperatures or anything. Just the track itself was that hot. He measured it this morning, 75 degrees temperature. So quite a bit of difference. They'll get more tire wear out of it. Talked to Victor Getzloff, longtime tire man and crew chief for Dick Trickle. Now working with Dennis Lappin. He said the same thing. Won't be as abrasive on tires, and the track won't get as greasy, so you might get more wear out of the Goodyear Eagles.
171 laps in the books, and Steve Holzhausen continues to lead over Tony Raines and Brad Loney. Stay with us. We're coming back to Iowa. That is Brandon Sperling out and looking underneath the truck air transfer number 15. Eaglewood Racing number 15. Brandon, originally out of California, comes from the same part of California as one John Forbes. Brandon, a little bit more conservative.
He only has one earring. Yeah, I guess conservative in some ways. Brandon now makes his home in Mooresville, North Carolina. Said he's out bushwhacking a couple of months ago, and all of a sudden these bees started flying all over the place. He got stung everywhere. Back home in North Carolina.
So the 6th caution flag comes out here on lap 174. And the Eaglewood Racing number 15 is done for now. So Brandon will head his way back to the pits, and we're going to step out just for a quick second. We'll get them all lined back up, set to go back racing in front of this crazy big crowd here at Cedar Rapids. We are still under yellow here for the 6th time at Cedar Rapids. It's Kevin Swinski circulating around in the rounded sharp number 1. What a year this rookie has had. As you said, Kevin Swinski. I like that. Expect big things out of this team next year. Probably one of the best funded, best put together teams on the tour. Scott Lefebvre doing a great job of putting that team together.
Scott's done a great job assembling the crew, and yesterday he said he's just so proud of the crew and how hard they're working with Mike Chaffee, the direction there, working in the shop. The shop's immaculate up in Lakeland, Minnesota. It's just beautiful.
Well, we showed you that Brandon Sperling went out. That's why the yellow came out. Dave's with it.
Brandon, we saw you got into a little bit of an altercation early on there. It didn't seem to affect the car at all. Did that have anything to do with why you're out?
No, that one did. The guy spun, and the field bunched up real quick. I didn't even see him, so I got into Dave Sensiba a little bit. We had to come in and get that fixed, but the car was still good, and we were coming up, and I started losing fuel pressure, and right there at the end, the rear end locked up, and the thing was just, it was running bad the whole time. I was just trying to, gain some points, but it wasn't meant to be today.
Brandon and his father Norm, as we go back to green, one of the many father-son combinations that are involved on the ASA Tour, constantly helping each other out. Gary St. Amant, his father Bud, Joe Naughton, his dad. It's just a pretty thick list of names that you see father-son combinations. Brad Loney, his dad here as well this weekend. We go back to green flag racing. Ed and Eddie Sharp. Another one of the father-son pairings.
Johnny Spa, the local driver of the 03 here, definitely has the experience on this racetrack. Runs here weekly as Brad Loney went to ASA. Johnny Spa became the local hot shoe, running here every Friday night, and it looks like he's got it together. He makes his own chassis as well, which may play a factor here, getting this new ASA car worked out. Brand new this season. Debuted here at Cedar Rapids back in July, and now he's got it working his way. Pontiac now holding off Joe Knott, sponsored in part by Four Oaks, which is a development community for underprivileged children and kids with emotional problems and keeping families on the mend. So it's good to see that he's got community support here this weekend.
Spa and Joe Knott are battling for 4th position right now. The way the ASA chassis works, if you're new to the series, the center section, which is where the driver sits, comes from one manufacturer. They're all serial numbered and tracked. You can do whatever you want with the front and rear clips. Some of the drivers, such as Bob Seneca, like to build their own. Some of the drivers go with particular brands, such as either Port City or Howe, to probably the two most popular. This battle heats up, and you can see Joey Knott getting hard onto the brakes, keeps her straight, and will get to the inside of Johnny Spa. And here comes Hansen right along with him.
Hansen takes over fourth now as Joe Knott slips into third.
Seneca coming right with him. And look right behind him, Gary St. Amant and Mike Eddy. And then the 35 of Buddy Schrock behind them. Now the key to this, remember, you see Gary St. Amant in the 7 is running in 7th. Hansen is running in 4th. That's your battle for the points championship.
Tony Raines, the race leader, came in 46 points behind leader Scott Hansen in the point chases after 15 events. He's now leading this field. 5 extra points are awarded to the driver leading the most laps. So Raines trying to do that today. His best finish here has been a 6th place in ASA competition for Raines.
Good run for Buddy Schrock in the 35. He's running in 9th right now behind Gary St. Amant. There you see St. Amant in the orange car, and there's Schrock in the white 35.
Earlier this year, Buddy had a 5th place finish at IRP. Looked like a seasoned veteran after spending 6 years away from the American Speed Association. Back at it. His brother Don celebrated their birthday yesterday, but they brought the U-Haul out with the race car on the side this week. A very low-budget operation. Every dollar goes into the race car, and Buddy's making a good run at it in the Team Unidial Chevrolet.
Watch Mike Eddy through the middle of the corner. He is flying through there. We know that's the key to going fast here. He has picked up a huge amount of ground on Johnny Spa. Watch as they go through the center of the turns here, how he closes up. Look at that. Right up on the back of it. That's how you end up making the pass here. He will work that and work that and work that and get a good run off the turn and finally get around Spa. It's only a matter of time here.
We've seen more passes on the outside of turn 2 than the inside, which may be what Mike Eddy is thinking of next.
Until now. Here comes Mike Eddy, the 7-time champ, to the inside. Got a good run through the center of the turn. And he'll take the spot away. St. Amant going to come right with him. Gary has got to stay in touch with Scott Hansen. If St. Amant wants a shot at this AC-Delco Challenge Series title in '96, he's got to face himself with Hansen. He cannot allow Hansen to finish a huge amount of positions in front of him.
Mike Eddy's 12th in points mathematically eliminated from the championship run, but he certainly wants to record victories. That is what he's racing a race car for professionally for the last 27 years. Only once has he finished outside the top 10 in the point standings. Gary St. Amant finished 5th last year, got on the podium, said, I like what I'm doing here at the banquet. I want to be back next year. Maybe the last guy to speak, and that's definitely on his mind. Coming into this weekend, we heard in the beginning of the broadcast, he's very excited about a different attitude. Yeah, he's a friendly guy, but now they're all competitors. And he said, now that it's getting down to where I can taste it, I know it's close. He must do everything he can to win his first ASA championship.
The worst Mike Eddy ever finished in the AC-Delco Challenge Series title chase was 11th. He's 12th right now. Only 2 bad seasons in 28 years of racing. That in itself gives you a good idea of the kind of racer Mike Eddy is. That's the fight for 10th. That's Muscotton in the 8th. The Gentle Giant Landman getting into the back of him. They get him loose. And that's going to allow a bunch of guys to go by on the outside.
Landman has pitted on all but 1 or 2 of the 6 cautions we've had to get that car right, and he was just getting by Muscotton.
They'll slip back now to 13th and 14th.
Train went on by the outside as they tangled and messed it up off the backstretch.
Sawinski slots in between the 2 of them now. So Kevin Win-Win Sawinski is struggling a little bit here today now.
Dr. Yale Conley spinning on the backstretch will bring out the 7th caution. Damage from an earlier incident there. You see the 200-mile-an-hour tape on the Simonton Windows Chevrolet, the right rear corner there. As he spun, it brings out the caution. It might give a break to some of these drivers that are trying to hang on to that cut as it flies away. The leaders are certainly on a tear. Tony Raines and Brad Loney leading the field, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a major factor round for a number of these guys. I think they're set to go. Just about 100 laps left in the event.
Lap 197 in the scheduled 300 is when we see that 7th caution flag. Crowd loving it here. Cedar Rapids. Stay with us. We'll come right back. Iowa 300 working its way closer to conclusion as we've got about 100 laps left as we've just completed lap 200 under yellow, unfortunately. 7th caution of the day is out. Let's take a look at what we got planned for you next Sunday here live on TNN. What an afternoon of racing we've got. NHRA Today will be coming your way at 11:30 a.m. Live 1-hour special. We'll show you live first round coverage from Topeka, Kansas. Rick Benjamin and Race Day will come up at 12:30 p.m. after that. And then Jim and Dave and Sandy will be bringing you the ASA race from Toledo, Ohio, and I'll be with my good buddy Steve Evans and Bob Fry from Topeka, Kansas, where we'll have live final round coverage. The NHRA's Craftsman Nationals from Topeka, Kansas. We plan on blasting a lot of the records right out of the books from there, and then Rick Benjamin and the gang will come back with race day to wrap things up later on the night. Let's check in with Dave Burns down in the pits.
Well, we're always looking for something that they're doing new in racing, and one of the things is they're adding a new element to putting lug nuts on the tires. Now, the old way used to be you would get your super weather strip adhesive here and just simply put it on the lug nut, as I am very poorly doing here, all the way around the lug nut, and then you would, yeah, if anybody sees this for NASCAR, don't hire me, okay? Then you would simply put it down on the wheel, boom, like these are here. Brad Loney's team, as well as several others, have the new way of doing it, which is this little adhesive pad. Much simpler. Put it on the lug nut, peel off the other side, and then boom, you put it on the tire as well. What it does is when they go to the car, it will expand just like the adhesive used to do, but it's a little bit simpler, a little bit more expensive, but hopefully a better solution to getting these lug nuts on the tires before they make the pit stops.
And more importantly, if you're like Dave and wearing khaki pants, you don't get it all over you.
It's a messy job. It takes many hours to grind off that glue and put those lug nuts. You have to glue each one on the outside edges. Dave tried to do there. It takes quite a while.
203 laps are in the books. Hansen is your leader. Seneca is second. Saint Amant is third. Buddy Schrock all the way up to fourth. Sensiva is in fifth. Then it's Holzhausen, Fair, Raines, Knott, and Sawinski, your top 10. Loney and Eddy running 11 to 12. The key, of course, Hansen, the point leader, leads the race. Saint Amant, second in points, runs in third. And Seneca, the guy who's won everything here the last couple times we've been here, sits in second.
Count up 5 points for Scott Hansen for leading the race. Is the fifth different leader of this event. Steve Holzhausen and Tony Raines have really dominated the event along with Brad Loney. Jack Landis held the lead momentarily, but Hansen gets it back after not pitting here. Raines and Loney did elect to pit there now mid-pack.
And Saint Amant has not led a lap yet. The lap leaders include Holzhausen, Raines, Loney, Landis, and Hansen. So Gary desperately needs to get up there and grab those 5 points. He cannot allow Hansen to take those and disappear. With 100 laps to go, I'm telling you, Seneca, he's going to be the guy to beat.
Seneca and Steve Holzhausen have an impeccable record here. They've either finished first or second. The first race was won, again, this is our fourth visit here. First race in 1994 was won by Steve Holzhausen. The next two events were won by Bob Seneca, and Holzhausen finishes second. Well, Seneca was on the podium as well when Holzhausen scored the victory, so those guys have a great percentage of running here, first or second, and it looks like Seneca will do at least second if he continues this pace. He might even get that podium finish again on top.
One thing Scott Hansen did this weekend was he went back to what he knows with the 53. He said he had spent some time the last couple of weeks messing around with a few things, do a little R&D as we see Carl Muscotton heading to pit road. So tough break for the Odessa Chevrolet number 8. And the yellow flag comes out for the 8th time today. And scanning the racetrack, I don't see a reason for it, Jim. Maybe it has something to do with why Muscotton pitted. Could possibly be fluids on the racetrack or something. But Scott did go back to what he knows and feels comfortable with the number 53. So the 7th caution flag comes out on lap 209. They'll go to work on the Odessa Chevrolet, and we'll be back. Aaron Huff has a broken distributor, and the way he is able to tell his crew that is through his Racing Electronics radio. Racing Electronics is the official communications equipment supplier to the American Speed Association. They are giving away a unit and Bearcat scanner along with a 1-year Racers frequency membership on each ASA telecast here on TNN. Now to enter this drawing, send your name and address on a postcard to Racing Electronics, P.O. Box 561244, Charlotte, North Carolina 28256. This week's winner is Terry Albritton from New Orleans, Louisiana, a hotspot of ASA racing. Congratulations, Terry. Enjoy your scanner from Racing Electronics. And Terry, make sure you make your reservations. Jim and I are coming down from Mardi Gras.
I'm going down in a couple weeks. I'm going to check it out myself. Right after Jennerstown, I'm there.
Go for Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say. Just go for Mardi Gras.
If you can make a 3-week stint, you got the Super Bowl, then Mardi Gras. 3 weeks straight, if you really had to.
If my Niners are there, all over. Speaking of Niners,
the green and gold first, man.
Speaking of the Niners, we should update you on Mike Kofer, another one of the ASA drivers. Mike's still pushing hard to find some sponsorship. Hopes to be back out in the the 79 soon, as does Eddie Sharp, who we will see in Kenly, North Carolina, back on the tour soon as we go back to green. No word yet on Rick Miller, by the way. Still wondering how
sponsorship problems mid-year. Extrude Hone pulled back, and they did not have the funding that was needed to go racing. And Rick Miller said, I'm not going to be doing a second and third mortgage on my house. I'm going to wait till we get some good sponsorship. A great team based out of Pennsylvania, just looking for some money, and they will need that to continue running ASA.
Hansen starting to pull away a little bit. Seneca, St. Amant, Schrock, Sensiba all giving chase. Well, the first third of this race just flew right by. Caution flags here in the final third is slowing things up a little bit, but Harold Fair running in 7th in the 81, having a pretty good day. There he is, holding off Tony Raines at this point.
And that beast motor, it's built in-house. Sally Pinson on the car had a dyno. He bought a dynamometer and built a race engine shop.
Did you see Joey Knott getting loose coming up the front straightaway just in front of Sawinski?
That's the second time for Sawinski here in Cedar Rapids. He and Steve Holtzhausen mixed it up back here in July while running first and second. I don't think Kevin wants to be that close again off of turn 4. That deja vu thing happens too many times, and it happened again here to Kevin. Looked like it might have been another situation where they get together. Last time that happened, Sawinski went skyward, getting over the front end of Holtzhausen back in July.
Here's a look at the 87 and the 81 having at it. And there's a look at Hansen and Seneca. Watch this battle here.
Raines has fresher tires, and he loosened Harold just enough to get by him, and this is where Joe Knott gets crossed up. Doesn't know if he goes inside or outside. Sawinski's down there. There's no room for him to go, and he gathered it back in just in the nick of time. That could have been serious.
Good catch. Battle for 5th going on. Raines sliding to the inside of Holtzhausen, and we've got Yale Conley around again.
Tom Jones narrowly avoiding that one in the Pace Jacks Pontiac, and Conley now trying to stay on that lap just ahead of the leaders. He rights the car and continues on.
So the pace car comes out once again. This would be the 8th caution of the day. We're going to be closing in on a record of cautions here in Cedar Rapids.
Scott Hansen also let off the gas pedal big time, trying to keep that car together. Bob Seneca momentarily looked like he might have been leading, but with all that altercation going on in turn 3 and 4 there, Hansen backed out. Now it takes the point once again.
Well, we'll be right back to Cedar Rapids right after this. Well, we don't want to get anywhere near the record of cautions here at Cedar Rapids. It was 17 back in 1995. We're only up to 8. And we don't want to get anywhere near there. And here's why we're on our 8th caution. Watch this.
Yale Conley sitting sideways in the racetrack. He finally gets the car going, seeing that the leaders are coming. He just did a 180, a la the Dukes of Hazzard, right in front of the leader, Scott Hansen. But Seneca squeaks on by the bottom, and it's a pace car, boy.
Now watch for the pace car.
He'll come at you. Looks like he's going to come through your front window.
Yeah, baby.
Where's Bo Luke?
Who said Pontiac Trans Ams don't get on the gas hard, huh? Beautiful. I like that.
Tom Jones slowing on the apron in turn number 1 as well, so his problems are not over. He went around the high side of Yale Conley as he was sitting sideways, and Conley got back in front of the leaders there at the very end of his spin. He is 6 laps down now, and he would have been 7 if he didn't get out in front of the leaders that time.
We have achieved a tie of lap leader record here with 7 tying the July 1996 lap leader record here. 7 different people on the point. Bob Seneca would like to make it 8. Kerry St. Amant would love to make it 9. The way St. Amant really needs those points.
Ralph, we talked about how points are so important. Look at the top 5 cars. Their top 5 drivers are all in the top 10 in points. Tony Raines is in 2nd in points. He's the end of that 5-car train heading into turn 1. Holtzhausen, the spoiler, only his 8th event on the year, running in the 6th position.
I'm liking David Sensiba running in 4th there in the number 4 car. Sensiba having a pretty good run. That car still looking for his first ever win. And Tony Raines sliding by.
Muscling that car down. Again, the new motor in the Baker Motorsports 87 really paying off here. Down the backstretch, he's going to close in on Gary St. Amant. It looks like his car at this point was quite a bit faster than Sensema. Not too many guys get past going into one. Most of the passing today has been happening off of turn number 2 outside those rumble strips.
I would think at this point, most of the drivers should be in pretty good shape for a lengthy green flag run, maybe all the way to the finish if they need to.
Majority of the leaders, including Raines and Loney and Knott and Carl Muscat at the time, was up towards the front, as well as Tony Roper and Dennis Lampman. They all came in about lap 198. They can go easily 100 laps here on this half mile at Hawkeye Downs on fuel. Mike Eddy's made 5 pit stops to correct his car. He came in last on lap 211. So Eddy is well back in the pack trying to make his way back through. And Brad Loney elected to pit then as well. If you recall, the first race here at Cedar Rapids, we've been following the coverage here on the AC-Delco Challenge Series at Cedar Rapids. Brad Loney had stayed out well late into the event with some very used up tires. He and Mike Eddy got together last season here at Cedar Rapids, and that gave Bob Seneca the win as they spun off in turn 1 with less than 5 laps to go.
Hanson's got a 4th, a 16th, and a 3rd here at Cedar Rapids, so outside of that 16th, he tends to be pretty racy here.
And he won the pole here back in July, and now finds himself at the point. He was mired back in 12th or 13th at the outset. He might have just been playing it cautious, letting things shuffle out, as didn't want any early race cautions to hamper his efforts. That makes for a long afternoon. Now Hanson's leading lap. He's the lap leader in ASA, and usually Mike Eddy has that dominated by at least 100 laps on the competition, but Scott Hansen is able to surpass Mike Eddy in laps led with his outstanding performance this season. Not only the point leader, but again, leading the most laps of the season, and you get 5 bonus points for leading the most laps in each event, and that is where the bonus points have put Hansen ahead of the field. He's led in 9 different races. This is his 10th event, leading a lap. Led the most laps, I believe, in 4 events this season.
The key to winning the AC-Delco Challenge Series Championship is finishing laps. Every year at the banquet, we see people finishing with 99-point-something percentages of the laps, and something is dragging on the left rear corner of Sawinski's number 1.
Now, Steve Carlson had the fuel hose inlet off the left rear corner. No, that's the bumper. That's the bottom half of the bumper. Looks like he got lifted from the rear. Thought maybe it was the fuel inlet momentarily.
Oh, and it's the nose of Joe Knott's number 48.
I don't think it's anything on Sawinski's car. He's got added baggage now.
Yeah.
Fiberglass from Knott's front end.
Joe, you got a brand new helmet, but you're missing the nose.
A little more air coming in there.
Yeah. No cooling problems on that car right now. Getting back to our point about lead lap finishes, you've got to finish 99% of the laps in ASA to win the championship. Last 2 years, that's the way it's been. Of the 15 races we've had so far this year, Gary St. Amant and Scott Hansen both have finished 12 times on the lead lap. That's a key to winning this championship.
Scott Hansen and Bob Seneca are trying to check out on the field. They're going to be coming up in a large pack of cars just in exit of turn 4. You see leaders entering turn 3. Tony Raines has caught them. He passed Gary St. Amant as well. And Ralph, as this comes along here, it'll be less opportunity for Bob Seneca to pass the leader with all this lap traffic coming.
Here's the other thing we got to take note of, Jim, is the sun has come back out from behind the clouds and really lit the track back up. See how much brighter it has gotten out of there. If it starts to heat up that track a little bit, it gets a little slippery now. Who's got the best setup for that? Could come into play. Seneca gets off the turns well.
Bob is so smooth. You don't see that car rocking back and forth. You don't see him. You barely notice when he hits the brake. Normally you see the nose.
Here comes your pass for the lead right here. Seneca to the inside. He's got him lined up in the gun sights. Good drive off the turn, looking to pull away. Well, Hansen drags him down the backstretch, though. There you go. Seneca now with the lead.
Kinetic motor versus a T-Zar, and the Kinetic wins this battle.
And that's good news for Gary St. Amant as he now gets a little closer to Hansen. Seneca, Hansen, Raines, St. Amant, Sensema, the top 5.
Hansen and Raines get together. Hansen might have gone through the corner and didn't get on as quickly as Raines anticipated, and that was near.
Here's your rundown after 238 laps as we continue to watch the battle up front, and Seneca now pulling away. A half a second already over Hansen.
1 lap ago, Raines got in the right rear quarter panel of Scott Hansen. If Raines didn't check up, that would have piled up the entire field behind him. Cooler heads prevail there as they straighten it up, and Bob, again, got out that half-second lead.
So the battle going on up front now with Bob Seneker, and we'll step away from the racing action here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, just for a short break. Stay with us, so we'll be right back. Cinch the belts down tight on your couch right now. Make sure you got a no-spill cup with whatever you're drinking. Wait till you see this. Look at the whole back end of the car coming off of Spa's entry. Now that is all body work that just came loose, but wait till you see how it got ripped off. This was unbelievable. While we were in commercial break, watch the action in turn 3.
The car directly in the top of the screen, right above the flag stand, is Yale Conley. And now we see the flipping Tom Jones. He gets together with Dennis Lampman and Carl Muscat, and Johnny Spa was already involved there. And Tom did a complete flip and landed back on his wheels.
Rolled right over the rear corner of the machine of Johnny Spa, and there's Conley. And right here, look at Jones.
Whoa.
Up and over with Lampman and Spa. And he'll come to rest right alongside of the Godot.
Holy cow.
Wow. Jonesy, what a ride. And he's out of the car.
Jones, desperately in search of sponsorship, did not need this to happen.
Says something about the structural stability of an ASA car as well.
And the good thing about the fiberglass there, it didn't create a worse problem for Johnny Spa. That could have been serious if that car stayed together, the body staying on. The glancing blow that he got just peeled the bodywork off.
So the 9th caution here today is a spectacular one. Dennis Lampman seems to be okay. The barricade flash number 9.
He spun to the infield, and you can see the damage that right behind where Dennis is sitting there. You see that the window has been peeled away. That's from the underside. That's part of Tom Jones' car right there. He launched off the left rear of the barricade flasher Chevrolet, got way inside. Luckily, Dennis Lampman, who's a big guy, fills up that cockpit, is not hurt because that right behind where his seat is, there's damage on the interior panels.
Cameraman Brad Hunt doing a wonderful job as always, bringing us all the best shots you can of this stuff down there in the pits. Look at that. Well, if you wonder what the backside of a ASA car looks like, that's it. The big red thing you see at the very back, of course, is the safety fuel cell. The little red thing in front is the left rear tire. There's the battery. Yeah. And you can see the hoses going back through. The silver hose hanging off the left side there is where the fuel would go into the car. And you can see how the piping back there to protect the driver, the actual roll cage, is assembled back there.
We're going to take one more look at this, Ralph, and we're going to watch. Yale Conley's already stopped on the racetrack here. But you see Johnny Spa spinning down low, and it's just an absolute launch pad. He launched off a Spa, got into Dennis Lampman on the way up and over. That could have been a lot worse if that car was not in the middle of the racetrack. He could have got up in the fencing.
And Tom is out of the car. Former winner on the AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour at Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. Zero Hero, Jonesy. He's out and okay. Another great story for the records of Tom Jones. Stay with us. The AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN is brought to you in part by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. By Win Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. There is the damaged, wrecked race car of Tom Jones, who is not only struggling to get out of the car there, Dave, but struggling to get that scooter started.
Well, he's borrowed the scooter of this week's crew chief, Steve Farmer. We want to send along our best to John Janik, who's recovering from some exploratory surgery. But Tom, man, we're glad you don't have to have surgery. You took quite a tumble.
Well, I'll tell you, the Pacetrack's Pontiac was running good. At first, I had a flat tire, got 2 laps down. I was in the hunt after that, and I just working real hard. And I don't know, something got tied. I don't know, somebody got sideways and turned around, everything stopped, and I was in the middle of it, and somebody hit me. Well, I hit somebody hit me, and it just took an accelerator and flipped the thing. It's been a long time since I've been upside down like that.
What do you think about the integrity of these ASA cars? I mean, it was the cage itself is real strong.
Yeah, it's getting the roof up a bit, but it didn't hurt the cage at all. The rest of the car is, you know, minimal damage, really. Actually ripped the suspension off on the front, and that's about it.
Okay, Tom is going to put that thing back together for Toledo. A guy who's going to have to put a little fiberglass back on. Well, here's what Kevin Sawinski is giving back to Joe Knott. This is the front end that was stuck underneath Sawinski's rear bumper. They pulled that out and put left side tires on Kevin Sawinski's #1 car. He's back out and ready to race to the end.
And Dave mentioned there John Janik. Normally on that little scooter that ASA has at the racetracks, that's so the technical director can get right to the scene of the accident to make sure and assess the situation. John Janik, unfortunately, took a week off and is still in the hospital. John, get on back out here and sit on that scooter again. We need you back here in ASA.
Jonesy was struggling getting that thing started. He'd get the headlight to go up and down, but he was in little trouble turning it over.
He'll figure it out. Steve Farmer is the acting technical director for ASA. He's giving Tom a ride now. Didn't want Tom to drive, you know, shook him up a little bit. There's the front nose of Joe Knott's car. That's what has been replaced. It used to be fiberglass. Now they've spent about 3 hours putting duct tape and continuous strips next to each other to plaster that front end. You can get some pretty decent speeds up here. Again, qualifying in excess of 95 miles per hour average. So
don't forget, race day hosted by RB will be coming up a little bit later today. Tomorrow at noon, I keep thinking today's Sunday. We usually go racing on Sunday. Tomorrow at noon, and again at 10 p.m. Eastern time, Rick will recap all the weekend's events right here on TNN Motorsports, including highlights of today's Hawkeye Downs ASA 300, the Iowa 300.
Joe Knott gets back on track with that front end taped up. We're back racing lap 257 of 300.
Look who's out front.
8th different lead change happened under green, passing Scott Hansen to the inside in turn 1. Now Tony Raines will try to do the same and put the pressure on the Bluebird, the winningest driver in ASA, 82 career victories.
So a record number of lap leaders here at Hawkeye Downs.
Raines is dirt tracking that thing through turn 4, trying to find an advantage.
The other important stat right now is the fact that Gary St. Amant is 3rd and Scott Hansen is 4th. That is our battle for the points lead. They could maybe end up swapping or at least closing that gap up here today.
If they finish there, it's a wash because Hansen did have that 5 extra points for leading.
Unless St. Amant, well, that's true if they finish here. And St. Amant really needs to get 5 bonus points for leading the lap.
Needs as many points separated as possible. I believe 9 positions would help him get the point lead if they did finish up near the front.
Dennis Lampman making his way to pit road. Look at this battle for 8th. Smokestag getting around the outside of Loney again on the outside, this time going into 3. Oh, a little bumping going on in there. Good short track racing. Look at the big donuts left on the inside of Loney's car. And Mike Eddy gets in and he gets together with Smokestad. Those two get a little loose. And now that Goodwrench Service Pontiac coming after him.
Mike Eddy's not done passing cars. I think he's going to go an average 2 a lap till he gets to the front on this pace.
This is a fight for 10th right now.
Smokestad able to hold him off there, which is impressive going into the turn and back out. Now take a look at the top 5 in this race here, Ralph. We got Bob Seneker, Tony Raines, Gary St. Amant, Scott Hansen, and Dave Sensico. Guess who's top 5 in points? All 5 of these drivers leading the points. That's how tough this series is. They got to run extremely quick, finish these races, and now there's going to be just a handful of points shaken up if they continue to run this way to the finish.
Seneker leads the series. He's actually tied in the series with Kevin Sawinski for 3 wins apiece. If Seneker could win, he will then move ahead with the most wins on the tour so far with 4. And the most of those wins came in that 8-week stretch in there where Bob really made a huge jump in the point standings. So deep inside the top 10 to now inside the top 5, a shot at the championship. Could be his 2nd. It's kind of hard to believe that the winningest driver in ASA racing only has 1 championship. This would be Bob's 83rd victory here today. He can hold on.
And he said he's definitely concerned about the points. He knows how much prestige comes with winning a championship. He's won it once in 1990. Now, without a sponsor, what better way to attract one than become the series champion? And Bob Seneker's definitely marched his way into the top 5. Tony Raines, also looking for sponsorship, went from 6th at the start of this stretch run to 2nd in points. He gained the most points of anyone in this last 8-week race run.
Wins do not make a champion necessarily, though. Mike Eddy won the title back in '74 with only 1 victory. However, Butch Miller won it with the most victories ever as a champion with 9 in '87. So that is not necessarily the key to a championship.
But the first thing asked around the water cooler Monday morning, who won the race?
Right.
That's what these drivers are after. Winning races, getting some recognition.
St. Amant and Hansen, there's your battle for the championship right there. Running 3rd and 4th.
Steve Holtzhausen behind them has gotten around Dave Sensiba to break up that top 5 of the race run. Holtzhausen is 5th behind this pair right there, the black Howes lubricator Ford.
Seneca won 9 races in '84 and finished 2nd in the championship that year. So Bob has found quite a few victory lanes in a particular year in the past.
3rd and 4th on the racetrack, 3rd and 1st in the points coming in. St. Amant in the wins, Burt transfer forward, holding off that Metro Milwaukee Auto Auction Chevy of Hansen.
They're all lapping around Yale Conley right now, the 3-car. Might be a little quickly getting around that one today. Dog's having some trouble keeping it straight.
Some problems, a couple of spins on this 300-lap contest here at Hawkeye Downs in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
272 in the books.
Ooh, Hansen's getting close there. As they say, we're within 30 laps. The cars start to get wider. It'll be harder to pass for position on the racetrack.
Just see Hansen close up again. We'll go right back to it like we did at the beginning of the show. Getting through the middle of the turn is the key here. Look at Hansen. You see Gary drifts up. The car pushes through the turn.
That screen door is open about 2 inches right now. If Hansen can make it work on the bottom.
Look how much higher Gary's running through the turn there compared to Hansen. It's about maybe 2 or 3 feet. But on a racetrack like this, 2 or 3 feet can be a lot.
Only 7-degree banking, and it's very much becoming a 1-groove racetrack. Down at the bottom, St. Amant trying to keep it there. Hansen able to hold it there longer, but the power coming off the turn is where Gary's making up the time. Hansen's getting through the turn better. He's have a later apex coming way up by the wall before Gary gets straightened out. So see if it works for Hansen in the closing laps here.
As you see, just 25 to go. To tip of the helmet to Steve Holtzhausen, fighting his way back. Johnny Spa, we saw lose the whole back end of the car. Dave, how's he doing?
Well, he's doing all right. Johnny got an interesting perspective on Tom Jones's car. Johnny, tell us about it.
Yeah, we, running there right around the top 10 and coming in the corner, and I saw the doctor, Gail Conley, spinning in the corner. I rolled off the throttle, and Dennis Lampman just ran into me from behind. I don't know if he got shoved into me or what, but, he spun me around, and Tom Jones had nowhere to go and launched off my car, and I saw the owner into his car. He got pretty high up in the air, but tore the back off the Midwest Plumbing Pontiac, but then we were going to kind of try to hang in there. Then the distributor went out of the car, so we had to call it a day.
Okay, but you're okay. You took a shot, but you're all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, he's going to try to race with us some more next year, we know. Interesting thing about this car, guys, there was a lot of things ripped off of here, but structurally, all the safety measures needed on an ASA car were still there. I did not see an ASA official hovering around here, so for all practical purposes, he could have gotten back out there and run.
Here's your battle for 6 between Dave Sensiba and Brad Loney, and we hate to mention that Jack Landis is pulled to the infield, calling it a quit. That car had a good run, and look at this. Loney gets the spot away from Sensiba.
6th and 7th.
Sensiba came right back at him. You saw the nose of that Ford dip as he got hard on the brakes going into the turn. He was carrying a lot of speed in the corner.
There's H&W fans in turn 1. There's Bunsaver fans in turn 4 cheering on this 33 car this afternoon. Hometown driver, Cedar Rapids, Brad Loney, chasing down his first ever victory. Had an escape in 1995 while battling for Mike Eddy for the win.
Seneca with about a half a second lead over Raines while we continue to watch this battle between St. Amant, Hansen, and Holtzhausen. That is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Then it's Loney, Sensiba, Schrock, who's having a great run at 8th, Harold Farrer in 9th, one of his best finishes of the day, of the year, and Mike Eddy. Could he actually finish a race inside the top 10? That'd be the first time in a long time.
It'll be the first time since Anderson where he finished 6th. Previous to that, he won. Coming back in a vengeance earlier this year. was not going his way, so I'm sure top 10 will be gladly taken by the 88 crew.
Joe Knott, who is running in 14th, brings the Valvoline Ford down pit road. They're going to work on the right side of that car. And here's that battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And there's the gap back to them. From the top 2 to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place fight. The gap between Seneca and Rains is a 5th and a 2nd, and it's 2 seconds back from Rains to St. Amant. There's your relationship again. Nothing really changing there as Gary and them not able to make up a whole lot of ground. Oh, and Seneca gets into one of the slower cars, and that opens the door up for Rains.
Paul Payne and Seneca does not want to get pickled behind Billy Turner, and it will happen to be the 10th lead change of the race right here with Rains taking it over.
And Seneca got boxed in. That is just like a great pick and roll move in a basketball game. Advantage to Rains.
Stan Crockett, 9th different lead change here, but a very important one with 14 circuits remaining on this half mile.
Well, Seneca's going to have his work cut out for him now if he's going to get back around Tony Rains, because Rains is not making it easy on him. How about those M&Ms, Tony? Think he's thinking about it?
5 top 3 finishes. He said, we've done everything we can to get in this point chase, and we need to win a race. Does not feel complete to this point to this Baker Motorsports crew.
Rains out in front. Seneca now. Keep your eyes on that middle of the turn. Let's see if Seneca can close that gap back up on Rains and set him up. The one thing we know about Seneca is he won't panic. Bob is a very patient driver. His crew will be telling him on the radio how many laps he has, and Bob will try to methodically close in on Rains. Tony, a veteran driver who has a win on the tour, still
2 victories a season ago for Rains, winless yet this year. 3 career wins. It could be number 4 this afternoon for the Milwaukee, Wisconsin driver.
And he's got one of the best coaches in the business sitting back in the pit area, Howie Ledow. And this team, we figured, would be challenging for the championship this year. And they are pretty much on stride for maybe picking up a championship in the next 2 seasons.
Limited sponsorship from Clean Burn Furnaces, Alltech on the car, the local distributor. They've been doing that program throughout the year. They are indeed looking for sponsorship. And
look at that. Seneca is all over the backside of him now. He is well within striking. Look at him close up in the turn.
Touchdown.
So much he actually bumped him. Got him a little loose, but it didn't knock Tony off of his line. Seneca will file that away in the memory banks. So will Rains. Look at him close again coming off the corner.
Rains has nothing left.
Tony hanging on. Trying to hold the spot. Seneca sliding it off of 4. Classic short track stock car racing here with the AC-Delco Challenge Series. That cost Bob. He lost a little ground that time. And he reel him back in. 7 laps to go. 6 when we cross the line this time.
Garrett St. Amant safely in 3rd. Hansen about to be taken for 4th from Holtzhausen.
Seneca looking for his 4th victory of the year. Holtzhausen now in front of Hansen. That'll change things in the point standings if St. Amant can hold on to 3rd. And Loney goes around Hansen. Hansen may be developing a problem. That might change the points lead by the time the checkered flag is falling.
3 position difference now. Advantage St. Amant. 10-point gain on Hansen.
Back to the front, you see the body on Seneca's Bluebird, the 84. A little wiggly as it comes off the turn. Bob's starting to push it a little bit now. Sliding off of 4. Across the line. Just 4 laps to go. Closes up on him, coming off of turn number 2. The traffic in front of him, about a straightaway away, is Mike Miller and Carl Miscott. Hansen has problems. What's the story on Hansen, Dave?
He broke an upper A-frame on the left front side. That tire is bowed all the way in.
Look at that, dragging on the ground is Hansen. How is he keeping that off the wall? An amazing bit of driving by Scott Hansen. Truly remarkable how that car is staying together. Oh, and we've got a big hit in turn number 3. Mike Eddy and Harold Fair into the styrofoam barrier zone. over there. The yellow has come out. Now remember, with 2 laps to go, in ASA racing, here on the AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour, the last 5 laps have got to be completed under green. This will not finish under yellow. And Jim, I love that rule.
We'll have a 3-lap shootout to the finish. Again, we've completed 2 of the 5 laps to the end here under green. I believe it'll be a 3-lap race to the end.
Well, it shows 298. So it should green, white checker, I would think, which is 2 laps. Boy, Mike Eddy, again, as we take a look at this here. And Hansen, now he's really going to get hurt by this yellow, because the last thing he needs to do is another lap, even at a slow speed. We're going to take a quick break, sort this thing out, make sure Mike Eddy and Harold Fair are okay. We'll see what is up with Scott Hansen, and we'll update it off. Don't go away. We got a green-white checker run to wrap it up at Iowa. There's Harold Fair's car, the 81. That car is done. What a shame. That new beast motor running well for Harold Fair. Looked like he was going to get a top 10 finish. We should tell you, we thought maybe this was going to be the end of Mike Eddy. He is still running and on the lead lap. And this is absolutely amazing. There's Mike, Goodwrench Service Pontiac, still circulating. Now, look at this. We know that the A-frame is broken on Scott Hansen's car. That left front tire is the least used tire, but still a lot of forces on that car.
One benefit Hansen has by staying out here on the racetrack under caution, it's under severe duress. Under green flag conditions, it's better off because there's less weight in the left front than any other corner on the car. We've seen Steve Holtzhausen and Gary St. Amant qualify at flat tracks like Columbus, and here the left front wheel is actually off the ground, so that's a benefit to Hansen. He's trying to finish out the race. He did go a lap down to the leaders just as we got to this caution here, but that will keep him just 1 lap down. If he does not finish the race, that's 3 laps down, and that'll probably be a difference of, what, 15 positions? Or is he still on lead lap?
Well,
we'll have to double check
just
scoring.
looking at the scoring monitor, it shows him listed in 6th. Not real sure.
We'll verify with ASA.
We will verify that with ASA. That's the last thing we want to do in a championship chase like this. St. Amant currently runs in 3rd. It is still Rains and Seneca running 1 and 2. Make sure you stay tuned for Motor Trend Magazine. That will be coming up right after the conclusion of our AC-Delco Challenge Series race from Hawkeye Downs, and it will be seen in its entirety here on TNN. Motor Trend Magazine right after the conclusion of the American Speed Association.
We confirm from with scoring, Ralph, and I am incorrect. Scott Hansen is still on lead lap in 6th position.
Well, that could be a championship finish for him, because he might lose the points lead here today, but he will not lose a tremendous amount of points if he can hold on to a top 10 finish.
Keep in mind, Tony Raines, the race leader right now, was 43 points behind Gary going into today's race after qualifying. Bob Seneca and Gary St. Amant are running right behind Raines, so those guys will gain a bit on Hansen. But again, 43 points, if you go 5 points in position, that's 8 positions. So if Hansen can hang on here, I think that's a very admirable effort for that Milwaukee-based team.
Okay, now we also know, we have confirmed with ASA green-white checker for the conclusion of the race. Now remember, if we get another yellow and we've only completed 1 lap, that's okay. We come back, we do that a green checker again. So that is the way in American Speed Association racing, the last 5 laps, whether they're run in succession or a lap at a time, all 5 have got to be completed under green flag. And I think for the fans, that is the greatest rule going in racing these days. It allows you to see the race finish in full throttle with the guys having a shot at getting the win. Dave?
Well, the big thing is going to be the restart here, guys, and calling the shots for Bob Seneca will be Hal Apple. He is up in the stand where the spotters are. Hal's been doing this a lot of years. They say Hal knows how to anticipate that green flag. For Tony Raines, it's Gary Donegan down on one of the tool carts down here, and Gary's been around for a while too. This is not only going to be a challenge for Tony Raines and Bob Seneca, but their spotters as well.
So Mike Eddy now goes down 1 lap, but he's still listed in 12th. So the 88 car might still get a finish here. Now, even going down a lap, 12th is the best Mike has done in a long time.
We just got a quick glimpse of Hal Apple's counterpart on pit lane, Howie Letta, who does a lot of coaching, a lot of talking to Tony Raines. Howie's up on that pit bull in the Baker Motorsports pit, and he is talking to his driver. They've been in this position before. Not only is Howie crew chief 5 ASA Rookies of the Year, but he's now in an attempt here to make it a win number 4 for Tony Raines in his ASA career, first of the season.
Let's check in one more time with Dave Burns for more on the Harold Fair Mike Getty incident.
Well, just had a quick report from Harold Fair Jr., who, of course, crew chiefs for his dad. And going into turn number 3, Mike went to the high side, and apparently there was lack of communication or something, and Harold and Mike got together. Harold is okay. You saw him get out of the car and walk around, although he didn't radio anything into his crew. So he's okay, and as you mentioned, Mike will stay on the track and try to pick up some points.
A couple of veteran drivers. Sounds like just a racing incident. Nobody too
those foam barriers, once again, Harold could have been a whole lot worse. He could have been out of the joint. When I saw the wall separate there, the foam barrier does make up the wall heading into turn 3 where the pit entrance is.
It's the usual turnoff area over there. You'll see as Tony Raines goes by, you'll see a little gap in the wall there. That is where the regular Saturday night cars here turn off and go back in the back paddock area. And
Harold Fair's hauler right there, ready to get to Harold when, or at least to get the car up. They were thinking maybe they would have had to put it right on the hauler right away. So they brought Harold Fair's car from the pits, his hauler, excuse me, out to the pits in case he needed to roll back right into the trailer.
Well, we're getting closer to the start here. See if the pace car lights go off this time by. No, looks like we're going to have at least one more lap under yellow. Sam Gontwald will visit pit lane here with the 82. Wow, what a day. Top 10 right now is not correct.
Tony Raines,
yeah,
Bob Seneker, Gary St. Amand is 3rd, Steve Holtzhausen is 4th, and 5th is Brad Loney. 6th is Scott Hansen. 7th is Dave Sensiba. 8th is Buddy Schrock. 9th is Ted Smokestad. And in 10th, can I say it, 1996 Rookie of the Year, Kevin Sawinski.
Pretty safe bet, I would think. Scoring monitor waited until the final 2 laps of the race to go off. They got Mike Getty listed in the lead. That's not too bad, huh, Dave?
Well, Brad Loney back in 5th. I talked to his crew chief, Kurt Beckler, and I said, how many can you get? And they said, we think we can get 2. So I don't know how in the world our wonderful TV crew is going to get all this, but there's going to be plenty of action in these last couple of laps.
We'll keep our eyes on the leader, and we'll get you what we can on what the rest of the field is doing, because it's going to be one hellacious green-white checkered situation.
Well, and the other thing we got to note here is that Seneker is looking at Raines, but Gary St. Amand is looking at Seneker and Raines, because if Gary can get at least one more, you got to believe Hansen's going to lose a couple here. There's just no way around it. He's not going to be able to complete 2 laps without losing at least another spot or 2. And every spot that Gary can pick up will play out in the final stretch run here with just 4 races left to go.
Pace cars off the backstretch. Here we go, Ralph.
Okay, cinch down the belts. Here we go. Final 2 laps from Cedar Rapids. Who's going to win? Raines with a tremendous jump. It looked like Seneker was sleeping at the wheel. Unless Bob knows something we don't, Jim, he was left. He welded him at the start. Hansen's already losing 2 and 3 spots. The white flag is out. Raines has got this one in the bag. Can St. Amand pick off Seneker? Oh, we got 2 into the wall on the front straightaway. We will come to the checkered flag.
Yellow checkered. It's going to end here.
It is Brett Bell and the DESA car of Miscotton into the wall, and the checkered flag goes to Raines, Seneker, St. Amand, Holtzhausen, Loney, Sensiba, Schrock, and Hansen that way. What an unbelievable finish. We will step away just for a second, straighten this whole thing out, and when we come back to Hawkeye Downs, we will talk to the winner and fill you in on this incredible finish. Welcome back to Hawkeye Downs. Here is the finish of our 300 lapper here. That's Brett Bell and Carl Miscutton into the wall. You see Tony Raines comes off for the win, and look at Sawinski onto the outside, almost getting into the middle of it. The checkered and the yellow coming out at the same time, and Dave, you got a happy winner.
Man, he's real happy. And Tony, we only get 1 question here, so I want to know 2 things. 1, tell us about the time you passed Bob, really for the win, and then about the restart.
Well, I give my hat to Bob, because he had a really good car, and he was probably a little bit faster, but some of that traffic, you got to take a gamble, and he went low, and I thought my only chance was getting outside, and I got out there, and it worked out for us, and then he drove me pretty clean after that. I mean, he probably could have turned me a little bit and got by me, but we needed a win, and we wanted it, and we came up with it.
Okay, guys, didn't Tony Rain pass somebody on the outside at Milwaukee, too? He's making a habit out of this.
Very strong run for Tony Raines this afternoon. This is the first time since 1992 at the Milwaukee Mile that ASA's race has actually run under caution. On the final lap, if there's an incident, they race to the checker flag.
Wins winning move. It's got to go to Scott Hansen. With the left front suspension falling apart, Hansen with the tire coming off. Look at that. He holds on, soldiers on, comes home in 8th place as we go green-white checker here to close things out at Hawkeye Downs. And Scott Hansen, by finishing 8th, with Gary St. Amant coming home in 2nd in front of Bob Seneker, Hansen will still lead the points. So the wins winning move goes to Scott Hansen. What a tremendous effort by the driver of the 53. Wow, what a great finish here to this exciting race, the second one here at Cedar Rapids this year. Don't forget, ASA Racing will return live on TNN next weekend from Toledo, Ohio, with a 400-lapper there as this race series continues to march on towards the culmination of another AC-Delco Challenge Series season when we will crown another champion. Here's the rundown of the top 10. And boy, what a great race.
Seneca right in there, St. Amant right in there doing what he had to do. Couldn't make up quite a bit of ground, and what a great run by Hansen, finishing up 8th. Sawinski did drag Ray Smokes at the line for 9th. That's why he went so wide.
Well, for Dave Burns, did a great job downstairs. My good buddy Jim Treda, who's right alongside me as always, and the entire television crew who brought this to you. Stay tuned for Motor Trend Television. That's coming up next here on TNN. I'm Ralph Shaheen. So long from Cedar Rapids.